Hey kids, it's time to get some SML podcast all up in that.
What's up, everyone? This is the SML Podcast. I'm your host, Joe. We've got an awesome show lined up. Later on in the episode, Christopher Forgie of Kalypso is going to be joining us, talk about the game Railway Empire, have some friends along through the entire show as well, and we're kicking off good friend Ryan Underwood. How are you doing today, sir?
Tired.
Tired?
I'm good. I'm actually pretty excited right now.
And what are you excited about?
Because a certain someone got me a review copy of Dragon Ball FighterZ.
FighterZ.
That's the official name. It's Dragon Ball FighterZ
with the bumblebees.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm excited that I got to get you involved with the show again. It's always good having you on. And I figure if we get a fighting game for review, who else is there to cover it than you?
Oh yeah.
Since you are the resident fighting game expert.
Yeah, it's weird to be called that sometimes, but it's weird because I think it started off with the like, hey man, why don't you stream like this? Yeah, why don't you stream this like what a Battle High School A+?
Yeah,
because it started with that one, and I was just streaming it. And it's like, oh yeah, let me see what you can do with it. And I remember you saying it's like, dude, like I wasn't getting it, but like, dude, you're doing dash cancels. What the fuck, man? It's like, yeah, dude, it's in the game, dude. It's just you just do it, move, and you dash. It's like, I don't know what's wrong. It's like, why the fuck are you doing that on an arcade stick? Come on, man.
I'm a moron with fighting games. So when I see people doing things that like the game intends, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because I'm a moron.
No, I keep forgetting, like, put a lot of time into these fighting games. Like, I keep forgetting that, where it's like, I haven't been playing much of it. Well, when you started getting competitive, like 2009, it's like, that's 9 years ago.
That is. Damn.
Oh shit. I've been doing this for a bit.
You have. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I am what they call in the FGC, the 09ers, the ones who got brought into the competitive field from Street Fighter 4.
I didn't know you guys had a term for that.
Yeah, it's weird because like we're trying to adopt another term. It's like because like 09ers are now old hat because like that's an entire generation of Street Fighter. Now there's a Street Fighter 5. It's like the 016ers.
Hey, whatever works, right?
Yeah, whatever works, man. Whatever works. In fact, dude, it's crazy. But we should try to talk about some Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Indeed, we should. So Dragon Ball FighterZ or FighterZ, however you want to go, developed by Arc System Works, published by Bandai Namco, released January 26th, so it'll be out later this week. Xbox One, Steam, PS4 for $59.99. Dragon Ball FighterZ is born from what makes the original Dragon Ball series so loved and famous: endless spectacular fights with all-powerful fighters. Wood, what do you think of this game?
Phenomenal.
All right. Okay, thanks for coming on.
yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. But let's break it down a little bit, right? It's there's gonna be a lot of comparisons to Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, right? These are two diametrically opposed tag battle games, which is weird because that's now a genre. Ugh, it's weird. There's enough games to actually cover that between this game, Marvel vs. Capcom, and the entire Marvel vs. Capcom series, Skullgirls, and eventually this Blaze Blue Cross Battle Royale Extreme. I don't know what it was called. High 20 characters behind DLC walls. You know.
Is this game similar in style to all of those?
Okay, so you have a tag system, so yes. It is very much in this vein of like Skullgirls and Marvel vs. Capcom because let's face it, Skullgirls is a love child between someone's fantasy of what a love child would be between Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Guilty Gear Double X, right? That's probably the best way to describe Skullgirls in a neo deco kind of art style, right?
Yeah.
And then you have Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which could let me just say could look better, right? The game could look better, but whereas a lot of fighting games, I've always said this about fighting games, especially like your slower kind of like 2v2 fighters. You're very limited in what buttons you can press at what time. So if I were to use the music terms, most fighting games feel like a progressive rock.
Okay.
Right. It's, they flow in a very similar manner and it's very predictable. Marvel vs. Capcom feels like freeform jazz.
Oh God.
Yeah. It's where your timing on when you press the buttons dramatically changes combo, which is crazy, right?
That's interesting.
So you have Dragon Ball FighterZ, Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is the exact opposite of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, which is the presentation is absolutely phenomenal. The team at ArcSys have lovingly crafted everything that made Dragon Ball with every single move and frame coming directly from the show.
Oh, wow. So they're not messing around. They're going for pure authenticity with this.
They absolutely are. Like, it's like every single move those characters do is brought directly from the show. And every super is a direct reference from the show down to the manga, right? The manga frames it was coming from, right? Like,
that's
it's
really cool.
Yeah, so when Vegeta does his Final Flash, it looks exactly like his fucking Final Flash in the show, in the manga and everything like that, right? So even more so, like, this is how much you've done, all right? You remember how Mortal Kombat X had brutalities, right? Mm-hmm. Which was, they weren't specifically, you press buttons in a certain order and you get the fatality, right? It's essentially just doing a code after you beat your opponent. Brutalities were, if you meet certain conditions, you got the brutality.
And didn't you have to do them during a combo as well?
Yeah, it's during a combo when you finish the opponent up. It has to be like, you have to be like under your first health bar, and you have to be at this stage, or sometimes it's like you have to finish them off with this specific move or this specific throw or whatever it is, right? They get to brutalities, right? Mm-hmm. There's a very similar thing here in Dragon Ball FighterZ, which is if you have certain characters facing another character, like a very specific character on a very specific stage, you get customized intros straight from the show.
Oh.
And if you have a certain character beating a very specific character on a specific stage, you also get their very specific outros. So, like when Gohan goes level 2 Super Saiyan after Cell just like crushes fucking Android 16, like if you're leading with Gohan and you're leading with Cell and you're at the Cell arena, you get that customized intro. And the outro is also like if you beat Cell with Gohan or Team Gohan, you get that specific outro where he like just straight up fucking dies. Same I think Goku. Was it Goku Frieza on Namek? I'm not sure what you need to do to trigger Beerus versus Goku. If you beat Goku with Beerus, you get the outro from you get that scene from Resurrection, whatever it is. No, not Resurrection. Battle of the Gods. That's what it is. So
this is pretty much packed with fan service and references.
Yes, this is lovingly crafted. Like these are fans of the show, 100%, and they lovingly crafted everything about it. In the same vein, like it's when you look at the screenshots, it does not do it justice. He's like, oh, these are hand drawn. Nope, it's just like Guilty Gear Xrd, where they're 3D models and not just like shaded. There's a whole process they have to do to make it look like it's animated when it's actually 3D models.
Damn.
Like they adopted it from like the Guilty Gear engine, even though they had to make a jump from Unreal 3 to Unreal 4. So they pretty much had to redo the engine in order to get it working for that. Or maybe they report. I don't know Unreal. Game developers, help me out here, right? So yeah, where's I going? So yeah, it's they've done a really good job crafting. Like just they look like they're straight out of the freaking show. Every scene comes out of the show. How the story mode is a filler arc from the show. If you really put it down to like that, right?
Nice.
It really does feel like a filler arc, which is a good thing. That's an absolutely good thing to say about it, right? And as far as the actual button pressing goes, it is so much more on the simple side. There's auto combos with every single button in that game, for better or worse. I think it's good. Because if you're a new player and you just mash a button, you can still feel like you're doing some cool shit.
Nice.
Yeah. So like you don't have to be sitting there like going, oh, I don't know all the special moves with that. It's like, fuck it. And also even the special moves are very simple. You're either quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, or in the air, quarter circle forward, quarter circle back.
So a moron like me could actually do well in this game.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah. And it does have, it does have enough depth where once you start understanding the engine more, or how the mechanics work, you can actually do in much more damaging combos, which is super nice. The other thing is your assists you don't pick. It's just straight up like every character has one assist. That's it.
All right.
So
it's not bad.
So you don't have to do the whole Marvel 2, Marvel 3 thing where you had 6 decisions you had to make at the character select screen?
Which is that's a bit much. I can understand why people who are heavy into the fighting game genre and who do tournaments and everything else, they want absolute precise decisions of everything they're going to do. But sometimes it's just too much. It's like, let me just play the damn game.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like that's what they did with the Infinite. That's what they did with this game, which is like your only decisions are what characters I want. And the good news is it's pretty much like, unless you're actually really trying to like build in some very specific combos, you can build your team with whatever you want. And just about everyone's favorite character is in. And it doesn't feel like there's any bad characters. There's characters I don't like playing as, but it doesn't feel like there's any bad characters. And like, again, like the button presses are easy. It's usually just Magic series. You essentially have 4 buttons. Like, honestly, this is a game where I think it's actually, you get advantage for playing on a pad as opposed to using an arcade stick.
Interesting. You don't hear that often.
Yeah, well, because the reason being is like, in order for me to do some of the motions, I have to press 2 buttons at the same time. Or if you're pressing a pad, it's one of your shoulder buttons.
Ah, there you go.
So you have 2 of your shoulder buttons for your assists, and then the other 2 are for your your Dragon Rush and your Dragon Rush, your dash, and I think you have some other button thing for your instant teleport. Yeah, it's Dragon Rush. I'm trying to think of the other stuff. Yeah, but it's I'm trying to like really formulate all things you can do in this game. It gets crazy, right? So for me, I have to I have my 4 buttons, which is light, medium, heavy, special. Special is usually your range button. To do fireballs, you literally just press a button, and you don't do special fireballs. You quarter circle button. You quarter circle key blast. It's super easy.
Nice,
right? I wouldn't say they dumbed it down, but like as far as like anime games go, this is easily the most accessible, which is weird because the screen gets fucking crazy in a hurry.
I was going to say, even the screenshots for this thing look like an epileptic's nightmare.
Oh yeah, no, it's like it gets crazy. It gets anime in a hurry.
I love that it just gets anime in a hurry.
It gets anime in a hurry. It gets bombastic. There's explosions everywhere. It's like when the first few betas were coming out, like it was very entertaining to see one person go super, the other guy, and then the opponent would go super, and the other guy would go super, and the other guy would go super. So you have 6 supers at the same time. You're going like, dude, how's this going to end? This is nuts, man.
It ends with your game console exploding.
Pretty much, right?
So that leads to a question. I know that they've touted this game is 1080p, 60 frames per second. Does it stutter when so much crazy shit's going on?
Nope. The good news is when it comes to fighting games, right? If you have a game that stutters, you're dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you have a game that slows down, you're dead in the water. No one's going to play it.
And or this keeps it running fast and smooth the whole time.
It is 60 frames per second the entire time.
And we should point out, you are not reviewing this on an X. You're reviewing this on just an OG Xbox One, correct?
Yep. This is the very first generation Xbox One.
So yours is still like the VCR.
Yes. The ginormous VCR with like laser disc attachment looking motherfucker, right? That is what I'm using, right? So like this is actually less power than the S.
Mm-hmm.
But it runs just fine because, again, like fighting games are meant to be smooth regardless of what's going on. And part of it is like it's in the nature of like the models, like using models that are like modeled the way they are means a lot less resources that they have to pull in order to actually keep it running smooth.
Yeah.
That's part of it. So even when it gets like just crazy bombastic explosion heavy anime, or as I would call anime, right? It keeps going. It keeps going. Like it doesn't stop. It keeps silky smooth, and that's by design, right?
Nice.
But yeah, it's easy to get into. It's as far as like anime games go, like I don't know why ArcSys tends to make these very complicated anime games. Because remember, BlazBlue was relatively simple until it wasn't.
No.
And then Excerpt is relatively simple until it's not. Guilty Gear was just always fucking crazy. Mouldy Blood is when someone said it's like, oh yeah, I like this game because it has air footsies. Like, dude, I'm not playing. What the fuck? What is that? What? Air footsies? Are you kidding me?
Oh, right? It's God.
Right, and like you look at all these bars and you're trying to figure out like what the fuck does this even mean? Like it's like I got like a bar in the center and like that's my guard gauge, but not really. And I got like a special gauge and I got like another burst gauge and I got like I got a super gauge and then a gauge above that for certain characters and everyone has like what the fuck is going on, right? Dragon Ball FighterZ is a lot simpler. It's just straight up like 3 bars, like 3 bars, a key blasting, and then 1 bar super that goes up to 7.
That works.
Simple.
Keep it simple,
like,
stupid, right?
Keep it simple, stupid, right?
It's the KISS method.
It is a KISS method, and I think they did that purposely because there's a lot of fans of Dragon Ball Z that aren't diehard anime fighting game fans.
Yeah, very true.
Right? That's I think that's mutually exclusive of each other. I'm not gonna say like everyone who watches DBZ loves fighting games because no, I know huge Dragon Ball nerds that don't play video games instead they do like jujitsu.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's who they look up to, right? Because that's Goku in a nutshell, right? Is like lose everything until you train up to where you don't lose anymore.
Nice.
Yeah, so, that's Goku in a nutshell, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But it's go ahead.
I was going to say to recap, we are looking at 3v3 fighting. Gorgeous visuals, fast-paced action, 60 frames per second, doesn't waver. I'm not hearing anything bad about this. Do you have any gripes about the game?
Oh, dude, like I have to nitpick. I literally have to nitpick, right?
What are your nitpicks? Let's get those out of the way.
Okay, so the story mode's dumb. Again,
it's Dragon Ball.
It's Dragon Ball. Like again, like the best way to describe it is it is a filler arc. Where it doesn't really continue the story, but it doesn't really hold it back. It's just there because like, shit, we didn't catch it to the manga, so we don't know what to do, right? Think of it as like filler arc, and you're just fine.
It's there to keep you moving, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. It's to put context of like why Yamcha is being facing blue hair Goku and holding his own, right? That's pretty much what the story does. It lays down a foundation like, okay, that's plausible, even though it's fucking anime. Who cares, right? Right? So there's that. The arcade mode is balls hard sometimes. Like it's, dude, the arcade mode, like talk about a full package, right? Like I'm not even playing online, and because there's no online yet, right? I'm not even playing online yet. And this is already a full package, right? I got a full-fledged, like a fully fleshed out story mode. That is, I mean, it's Dragon Ball. It's Dragon Ball story arc, so you get what you get with that. The arcade mode is very interesting because, like, it's this branching path based on how well you do on the previous match.
That's neat.
Yeah, no, it's super neat, right? And there's 4 paths, and then what's to be one path you unlock hard mode. Hard mode is balls fucking hard. Christ, man. It's like, because there's one path I was trying to do to unlock blue hair Vegeta or Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Vegeta. That's a real term, by the way.
Good Lord.
Yeah, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. Or SSGSS, right? You actually see Vegeta, parentheses, SSGSS. It's fucking weird. Anime, right? So
pretty much, yeah.
But the problem is like it's like those CPU opponents are really fucking hard. And those are adjustments. Like there's no like big adjustments because it is a branching path. So how well you do in the last match determines like where you go in there, and you have to get a certain ranking in order to unlock those characters, or you have to get so much zenny, the in-game currency, to unlock those characters, or you pre-order the game.
Yeah.
And you have to be and one of the other characters is locked behind story mode. Is what it is.
It's good to unlock a character in a game instead of being like, oh, well, it's the boss, but the only way to play him is to buy him.
Yeah, no, that's some bullshit, right? It's, I mean, I do appreciate their, for a lot of Arxis games, right, where they offer you the option of, like, you can go through all this rigmarole to unlock this character, or you can just straight up buy him, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just like, hey, I got disposable income, fuck it, I'll just buy it, right? Or like, nope, I will spend my time, the hours to get good at this game in order to get that character. And both are very valid options, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, this one is just, it's relatively easy to unlock these characters anyway. So, and there's also Android 21, which is a very interesting villain.
Nice. Well, I am definitely eager to get my hands on this myself. So you mentioned disposable income. I got to know, $60 on this game. What is your recommendation?
Buy. If you're okay, let me caveat that.
You were kind of hesitant on that answer. Are you sure?
Okay, let me caveat this, right? It's you have to keep this in mind. Like, if you like fighting games, even a little bit, this is a solid buy, because you got to keep in mind, like, this does such a good job of capturing everything that is Dragon Ball about Dragon Ball and putting it into like a legit fighting game that invokes the early PlayStation 2 fighting games out there. Right, if you remember those games, they were also busted as shit, but they were a lot of fun. Right, it was like, hey, this is exactly what I wanted. It's like Dragon Ball characters in a fighting game. And
what more do you need?
Yeah, it's all you need, right? And like, and it allows you to just button mash and be just like, you're not gonna be hanging with the pros out there. It's just button mash, but you'll still feel good, and that's a big thing, right? This game is just fun.
And that's something that I'm looking for in a fighting game, because there's so many fighting games out there that if you don't practice for hours a day and, you know, put your skills to the test and do all of the tutorials and all of the training missions and everything else, if you even try playing against someone else, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
And it just won't be fun. So it's good to hear that this game is more accessible to a wider audience, and it's still fun no matter what.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's just a fun game. And even if you don't face another opponent online, you have story mode, you have the arcade mode, you have all these other modes to do, and you're gonna get your money's worth anyways. And even if you do go online, it doesn't matter, right?
Very true.
Like, you're gonna do fine. You're gonna match up against people around your skill level, and really just like even at the lower levels, it all comes down to like, how do I open my opponent up? And sometimes it's just let's just press X harder, right? And sometimes they'll just do that. You just press it, and it's like, I'll stop pressing it, and when you try to press something, I'll press X again, and I just win.
Hey, whatever works, right?
Yeah, it's whatever works, man. Whatever works. And again, like this is such a lovingly crafted package that even if you're like a fan, like just a barely fan of Dragon Ball, and you like fighting games a little bit, like this is up your alley. Like, seriously, this is just a fun game. And if you throw this on like a TV with like at a party, people are gonna play it. It's like, what the fuck? Hey, I'm a Dragon Ball. Let me just play some of this shit. And just
are you guys watching cartoons? No, we're playing a game. Are you fucking kidding me?
What the fuck? This is awesome. I'm gonna do this, right? And it's, dude, like, seriously, like, just like throw this out to the party, people will be playing it.
Nice.
So this is, for me, it's a solid buy. But if you are like completely against fighting games and you feel like Dragon Ball is dumb, don't buy it. And also hate yourself, because why? How could you hate Dragon Ball and fighting games that much?
Even still, maybe give this one a shot, because if it's that accessible, even people who might not normally be into fighting games, it might be worth checking out.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the reason why I put in the, like, dude, buy it with that little bit of hesitation. It's like, dude, it's, unless you're really against this kind of gameplay, dude, it's fun. Like, that's really what it comes down to. It's a fun game, and it's worth for retail. And at the moment, there was a thing in our notice, like, oh man, there's loot boxes. Apparently they're worth no money. You put no money towards it, and it's all cosmetic.
Yeah, I saw that cosmetic. Before we started recording. I saw something that Dragon Ball FighterZ has loot boxes, but there's no real money. Yeah, so I have no problem with it.
It's like, honestly, to do borrow. It's the same system they have for Guilty Gear. And I do love the fact that they package it as capsules.
Yeah.
Rich is like, it's a really good throwback to the show. It's like, hey, we all these capsule core stuff. It's like, cool. And we just buy all these capsules with Zenny, and it's all cosmetic. It is titles. It is avatars. That's all it is. And
character colors, and that's the right way to do it. Keep real money out of it. Save that for DLC characters, because we know that'll happen.
Oh, no, there's definitely going to be DLC characters. I mean, come on. Super is about to wrap up. Of course, Jiren's going to come in eventually, right? And it's some of the other characters are coming in. Like, dude, Kefla is definitely getting in the fucking game. I guarantee you at some point. Right? Because we got, like, Super is starting to, like, wrap up at some point. Like, I guarantee you, like, those are going to be fan favorites that are going to be in the game at some point. Because, shit, they're still putting them in Xenoverse 2.
Damn.
Yeah, like there's still a DLC for that game. It's like these are going to be fan favorites for the fighting game crowd too. So buy. That's what I'm going to say. It's buy unless you hate fighting games and Dragon Ball Z and yourself.
And if you hate fighting games, there's no way that you've been listening to the past 25 minutes thinking, maybe he'll say something else.
Yeah. But again, it's buy. Like, I don't even know how to fight stick. Dude, play it on pad. It's just as fine, if not better.
Sounds good, man. Well, always good having you on the show chatting about this stuff. Do you have any final thoughts to sum it all up?
No. Just fun anime.
And buy it.
Buy it.
All right, next game to talk about is called Staxel, developed by Plukit, published by Humble Bundle, released January 23rd. I can't talk today. January 23rd on Steam Early Access for $19.99. Staxel is a creative farming and village life game with a cast of quirky characters. Build your farmhouse, help villagers, take to the wilds to fish or hunt for bugs, grow a variety of crops in your backyard. If you're feeling social, you can even invite your friends over to share in the fun. Covering this one, our good friend Henry Jones, Joe Straatmann. Henry, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Well, the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl, so I kind of want to fucking hang myself, but
Oh, goodness. Well, yeah, I just completely ignored that because I have kittens. Apparently, when you have young kittens that I forget about, it's like we're sleeping in shifts like we have babies.
Oh, God.
Because the moment we want to sleep is the moment they want to run around at each other at light speed right next to where anything can optimally be knocked over. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Oh, so man.
Anyway, Staxel.
Yeah,
video
Staxel.
games.
Tell me, what is this game, Staxel? It looks like a mix of Minecraft, Harvest Moon, and it sounds like a mix of all of those plus Animal Crossing.
That's exactly what it is. It's bears more on the Minecraft side and more the creative mode, but it's with a purpose, which is important to me because I need a purpose when I'm playing a game. I mean, I appreciate all of these like Lego, open sandbox games where you can do whatever you want, build whatever you want. But I need something to do. I mean, my wife can build like castles in the sky all day, or she can build a prison for her Minecraft villagers. But me, I kind of need a point. So Staxel kind of adds a purpose in you are the new owner of a farm, and there's this village with actual characters, so not just those villagers guys who always look glum at you and look like they're looking down on you. So I mean, you have actual characters, so you can, like they said, you can build crops in your backyard. Not build crops, plant them.
I don't know. It is a building game, so maybe you are building them.
You build barns. I mean, the chicken coop is easy because you can just buy it at the store for about 100 gold. But the barns you actually have to build, and some other things you have to build. So it is more creative in that sense. And I don't know what their ultimate goal is. If you can actually make the villagers waifu or not, probably not. It's probably more Animal Crossing where they're your friends you do favors for.
Maybe the waifu stuff comes later, because let's not forget this is just launched in early access.
It is early access, and they have been changing it daily or hourly. Like I've been looking through hourly. They've been sometimes they're like I'm looking at their announcements on their Discord, and they announced this version is available for testing, and then an hour later they announced, okay, now this version is available for testing.
Oh, wow.
So they have been working very hard on it, and there's still some stuff to be worked out. I think they'll get there eventually, but what they are promising is constant content updates. So when it drops, what you see is not going to be what you get. But anyway, so it plays like Minecraft. It looks like Minecraft. So you're wandering this randomly generated world, which is not unlimited like Minecraft, but it is still pretty substantial. You have a lot of woodlands to go through. While I was playing it, they added mines, and I didn't get to do all I wanted to do with mines, but they're developing it, and you can fish. You can an underrated part of the game is catching bugs, because if you get broke, an easy way to make quick money is buying bugs, because then you can get about 200 gold and then buy yourself some crops or get yourself some pet foods, because you can get yourself a pet, which a dog or a cat.
Yay.
Yeah, I got myself a cat, and my new kitten, Hermes, is like very curious about it every time I like pet the cat, and it just does a meow, and it's like, who are you cheating on me with?
You whore.
But your dogs and cats, if you feed them and pet them, they will bring you stuff. And most of the time, from when I played it, they bring me golden cucumbers, which are worth about 600 gold a pop. So it's nice. Thank you. They will also give you clothes. Like I set myself as a male elf to start off, and it brought me a red frilly dress. And like, okay, thanks, Kitty. So I guess I'll wear a red frilly dress for Kitty, because it went to the work of getting it for me. But
you gotta look pretty for it.
So there's that, but it's mostly Harvest Moon stuff where you can get chickens and you can grab their eggs, you can get cows, sheep, and you can get their wool and milk, and you can plant crops, and then you can go into the mines. I haven't really found much to do with the mines yet. I think it's still a work in progress, but you can get a lot of raw stone, which you use for building. Unlike Harvest Moon, a big focus of this is like building your own world, because you can build. You have to start by building your own barn, which is, they give you some wood stuff, but eventually you have to get roof tiles and stuff like that. So a big component of this, if you like the Minecraft side of things, is building your own stuff, and which is also Stardew Valley to a certain extent did that, except you have to deal with the same barn, you have to deal with the same chicken coop, and so on and so forth. But this one is just, if you like building your own stuff, like you can eventually rebuild your house. I mean, it starts with, you get this ratty thing with cobwebs and broken windows, and it's only a good place to sleep.
It's home.
It's home. So you can eventually knock out the windows, put on your own windows, and probably do an expansion or something like that. But I haven't gotten that far. I'm not so much of a builder. I like the Harvest Moon, where it's like the social interaction and, doing stuff for other people. And to that extent, the game feels a little unfinished. The crop planting and everything else works great. It's incredibly fast. You can get your crop. A big problem for me in Harvest Moon is like it used to take forever to plant everything, but hopefully with Stardew Valley and everything else making it a cinch to do, the Japanese makers of Story of Seasons and maybe American Natsume, who's making the Harvest Moon games, will get their asses in gear and like make everything more user friendly. But this one, you can water your crops in about 10 seconds, and you can take care of pretty much everything in the farm within about a minute. So that's fine. The only thing I can think of is there are certain performance issues. The way the game is built, there are a ton of weeds and flowers and plants all over the place, and it seems unnecessarily so. I know what they're made for. They're made to attract insects, and so you can find them and catch them, but they're all over the place, and there's so much stuff, especially if it's raining, that there is a lot of pop-in. There's a lot of unfinished textures, and the biggest problem I've found is while you're walking forward, it will sometimes not draw what is in front of you until you're walking through it. And if you're walking through a hill, sometimes you'll pop into a hill, and it'll take you like 5 seconds to jiggle loose from that. And I've actually had a game crash because it was doing that.
Weird. Well,
So,
I mean, that is one of the downfalls of early access. This is stuff that's going to be worked on through the year. Looking at the Steam page, it says that they're looking to be in early access probably until late 2018.
Okay. And
No.
that is fine. It is a work in progress. Like I said, everything can change. Like they have changed things daily. Like they have new hats. You can be in the last update that I have been able to look at, you can be a new race. But the only thing with that is when they change things and you have to restart your village, you have to go through the tutorial again. There is this girl named Farm Fan who's like, "Oh, hi, welcome to the new farm. Here, let me show you how things work." If you turn her down, she gets really mad and refuses to give you your farming license and refuses to give you your cat and the extra money you can have to start yourself off. So,
man.
And then you have to she stops talking to you for a while, and then you have to walk back to her after a couple hours and like, "I'm sorry, I actually want to go through this. If you say no, hopefully they have this thing where you can just skip the tutorial." So that can be a little bit problematic as you're going through versions. As it is, though, it's a pretty solid early access game. It takes you a while to get into it because there's a learning curve, and there's some things they tell you, and it doesn't quite register the first time, or there are things they don't tell you at all. Like to sell things in town, you have to put the item on the pedestal. And then instead of looking at the item and hitting sell, you have to look down at the pedestal and then hit sell, and then that sells your product. And that's a little weird. I'm guessing the interface is more Minecraft based, but you can also build your own shipping thing at your farm, so you can ship up to 6 different kinds of things. And you can just drop it in and it'll drop you off your money tomorrow if you don't want to worry about that stuff, or if you're busy doing stuff on the farm or exploring and you don't want to go into the village. So that's handy, but there are little things you need to know, and most of the time they teach you. There are a lot of machines where you put a bunch of ingredients in one end and it pops out the other, and they teach you how to use it, but there are like 6 or 7 of them. There's like combining, there's carving, there's cutting. So,
nice. So it sounds like there's plenty to do in this game. They're looking to bring even more stuff to the game through the year. Something I enjoy is they say that the price will not go up through early access. So this $20 is the final price. So for $20, do you think this is worth checking out right now? Or do you think it might be better to maybe wait a couple of months to see how it turns out? Or do you think there's enough there to justify the gamble now?
If you're a farming addict like me, I'd say it's a definite try it. If you can, wait a couple months until they have some things sorted out, you can do that, especially if it means you have to reload your save or you have to make a new village or something like that. But from what I played, there's a learning curve. But once I got into it. I have a good dozen hours into it over the week and maybe more. I can't remember exactly what my Steam number is, but once I got into it. It's just the only hiccup for me was restarting the entire game over after I had this nice farm. And then the new randomized village, they put your farm behind a different building. So it's just like, oh, I'm lost all over again. So I have to remember what building my farm is behind. And then they swap out a villager for another villager. And there are balancing issues they still have to work out, because in the first build I played, I could find items that you could give to villagers, but you have to wait until they ask for it. And in the second build, they're constantly asking for items, but I can't find them. So they're working on it. It's a work in progress. I mean, they are doing work on it daily, so I am not worried about that. It's just an early access game. It is. They will work on it. They're smoothing out, polishing out the edges as we speak, literally. so
it's been updated 3 times since we've done this review.
Yes.
Well, that is definitely a good sign in my eyes that they're continually working on it, pushing out updates, taking feedback, and improving it. I think that's more important than anything else.
Like every time you quit, they have you can send information to let them know if there are bugs or anything else issues you found, and you can send your email. And they also have Discord, and they have other places you can, and I think they have a Steam forum you can talk to them. So they have a lot of places where you can talk to them, and they're generally very friendly with the community and very responsive. So that's a good thing.
Sounds good. Well, Henry, thank you so much for joining and chatting about this game. I look forward to hearing more about it in coming months. Do you have any final thoughts to sum it up?
It's definitely a farming sim for those who like Minecraft. If you're like Harvest Moon and you kind of have an interest in Minecraft, but you sort of didn't get into that, this is probably a good mix. But don't plan on any of them being your waifu as of right now.
All right, next game to talk about is called The Escapists 2, developed and published by Team17. It released January 11th on the Switch for $19.99. Craft, steal, brawl, and escape. It's time to bust out of the toughest prisons in the world as you return to the life of an inmate in The Escapists 2, now with multiplayer. Have you got what it takes to escape? For that question, we're asking our good friend Chris Taylor. Chris, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Got a bit of a cold here, but we're powering through.
I think we've all got that right now. But
yeah, anybody who went to any cons in January,
you did what?
Are now cursed with the plague. Yes.
So you got the Pat's pox. I've got mag flu.
Yes, I got sick. Like, we went Saturday, and I got sick like just immediately at one point in Saturday afternoon. I dropped in like 5 minutes from being healthy to being just a pile.
So
and
proud of you.
Yeah, now I'm okay, but I just have like the cough, stuffiness bit of it still.
Oh, I'm there too. I know exactly how you feel. But so we'll muscle through this together. But The Escapists 2 finally on the Switch. What did you think about it?
Oh, it's so good. It's really very good. I wanted to research the original game because apparently this is like some kind of sequel, but I think it just might be the same game with different levels, perhaps. Either way, based on the ratings of the first game, this is similarly high quality. I think it got like a 9 out of 10 on Steam and like 4.5s and stuff.
Always good.
Yeah. So The Escapists 2 is a sandbox RPG done in 8-bit pixel style, which is already, I couldn't even name another sandbox style RPG that's done in 8-bit, which is already really interesting. You play a prisoner. I think you can create one or do what I did and just randomize. I played a random prisoner who looked a little bit like Walter White before he shaved his head. So I was like, this is the part where he gets caught instantly for cooking meth and gets thrown right in the clink. So this is that alternate storyline, I think. And so the way it plays out, the goal is to escape from prison, and you get to choose from the beginning of the game. Well, there's one tutorial prison, which all you do is play the escape part, and it guides you through that, which is really really helpful because it's a little hard to kind of figure out what you're doing if you just start in the sort of sim portion.
Yeah. But
then once you start a proper level, you start off in jail, and you have to go through the daily routine of being in jail in order to keep up a meter of basically the cops or like the guards and the security not keeping a close eye on you, blending in. Mm-hmm. So like it plays out a little bit like Harvest Moon of all things, in that you have to like report in and get head counted and then go eat breakfast, and then you have a little bit of free time, and then you have to have lunch, and you have to exercise, and you have to do a job, which all I did was, like, for doing a job, I just went into the room where they give you the jobs, and they're like, we don't want to give you a job, and then they just gave me money. So I don't know how that plays out later in the game, but in the first dungeon, or I guess it is the first dungeon, isn't it? In the first prison, it's a little easier. But the part where it gets all sandboxy is that in the free time, or even during any of the other times, if you choose to, sort of ignore the rules, which puts you at risk, but you can get more done that way, you can talk to your fellow inmates who'll have like a dollar sign over, or, a little coin sign over their heads, or an exclamation point, and they can give you little mini quests that you can do for money, or, other kind of goods. You can go and buy stuff from other prisoners with said gains, and you can also just like break into their cells and steal stuff from their desks. And actually, a lot of the mini missions involve stealing some people's stuff and giving it to other people. And you get to do this in an extremely, well, in the first dungeon anyway, in an extremely forgiving environment. That is to say, as soon as a guard has turned their back, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And if they see you, they're like, hey. And yeah, but then if you can get into fights with just about anybody, you can wield weapons. There's actually an item crafting, which I really love how they introduce the item crafting in the tutorial dungeon. They give you a sock and they give you a bar of soap. And then when you combine the items, it's a bar of soap in a sock. And it acts like a mace.
Nice.
They're like, this takes crafting. But all you did is stuff a bar of soap into a sock and beat people with it.
That's a lot of work, man. That is a lot of work. So
honestly, though, it gets intense because I just crafted a razor blade and a roll of duct tape into some brass knuckles.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
So overall, it sounds like gameplay-wise, everything's pretty much the same between the Switch and other versions. How is the performance on the Switch?
Oh, it's great. It's really, really smooth. I was getting a very Blossom Tales sort of like 8-bit plus feel out of it. The music's fantastic. It also keeps your list of friends in the menu at all times so that you can invite them to play if they also have the game. So it keeps tabs on which of your friends are online in an actual list. And as I understand, you can bring your friends into the game if they've also got it. I think that's required.
I would imagine.
Yeah, and yeah, you can have them be, I guess, your prison buddy.
Well, it's very good to hear that Team17 did what Nintendo isn't doing in having a friend list in the game, so you can invite friends. Since Nintendo doesn't know what the fuck they're doing with the online service for the Switch.
I think that they take a calculated is it worth the potential bad press if people if the whole thing that always happens and then people get abusive and predatory, I mean, I think
people are like that on Xbox and PlayStation. We haven't seen any kind of insane, crazy, murderous rampage done on there. I think Nintendo just doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
Maybe not. I mean, we can agree to disagree on that because Nintendo's not going to tell us.
I mean, game-wise, they know exactly what they're doing. Online infrastructure, they are they are way gone.
Well, be that as it may, yeah, level 17 definitely picks up the slack on this one because it's very handy and right there. And yeah, this game seems expansive. There are lots of prisons to choose from. And honestly, when I was getting into the daily routine and earning money and building up my strength points in the gym and building up my knowledge points in the little library and playing on the musical instruments and stuff, I was like, I might just serve out my sentence. Maybe I'll escape on the last day just to meet the requirement.
I've heard that from other people where they're having so much fun just enjoying the life simulator aspect of it while in prison that they didn't really care about trying to escape.
Yeah, it's a very friendly prison. The guards usually start off the day by apologizing in advance for all the beatings that they're going to do. And
we apologize in advance for all the shankings that are about to happen today. But
yeah, they're like, whatever happens later in the day, we're sorry. And the game has a delightful sense of humor and a very, very innocent portrayal of a very sinister side of American life. So,
oh god, so it has that Team17 charm, huh?
Yeah, I mean, just take that how you will. Whatever your thoughts on prison, this is the kid version of that for sure.
All right, so $20 your verdict?
Yeah, $20, pick it up and make some friends. This seems like a really good game to sort of play with other people. So none of my friends have it, so I wasn't able to test that out, but I sure hope they will. I'll be selling it to them so that hopefully I'll have a friend.
Nice. You've got a friend in me.
Oh.
I did like Catherine's "aww" in the background. Just barely picked up on mic, but that was fantastic. But next game to talk about is called Energy Balance, developed and published by Sometimes You. This one released January 16th on the Switch for only $2.99. During a mission, your spaceship encounters an unknown anomaly and all systems fail. You have to balance the energy in order to get them running again to get home safely. Energy balance is a number puzzle where you have to swap power units in such a way that their sums form correct chains, both vertically and horizontally. Are you ready to peep under the hood of an alien spaceship? Chris, did you peep?
Didn't get close enough to get a peek in there. No, I played through a lot more of this game than I thought I was going to, given the wall of difficulty that hit me like right in level 2. So this probably sounds familiar. Over the last couple of podcasts, I've been talking about these guys' games. Super cheap, super difficult puzzle games with like a kind of cool aesthetic. This one really takes the cake. I don't know how they're going to come out with a harder game than this. Okay, so this game is entirely based around that most hated of subjects, math.
Yay!
Yay! I guess it's kind of like I don't know, is like Sudoku played anyway like this? I've never played it, but it's one of those things where it's like it's numbers and crossing lines and things like that, and it seems really obtuse when you get to it. But then when you start playing it, you actually and you get into the groove of it, you sort of realize that it makes a little bit more sense than it appears to. So what you have to do is the lines of the stage, which are set per stage, like whichever ones they are. So let's say you've got a line going down and it's 3 squares, and at the end of that is 15, and then there's a line going horizontally through the middle of it, and at the end of that it'll say like -3. Well, you then have a set amount of numbers, and sometimes they're numbers you can remove from the playing field entirely. Sometimes you have to use every number you're given, but you have to line them up to where that first vertical line, when you add up all the numbers, the positives and negatives, and sometimes 0, it becomes 15. And at that cross section, you have to arrange the numbers where that number then becomes -3. And so you have to arrange the order of them on the vertical one. As long as it always adds up to 15, it's fine, but you have to have that cross section be consistent with what you're going to add onto the horizontal part.
Yeah, this is one of those games that's like incredibly difficult to explain to someone, but once you see a picture of it, you're like, oh, okay.
Oh no.
Oh God, what did I get myself into?
Yeah, and like I said, it's fairly simple. Like that's about as simply as I can explain it. And then you take those lines and you come up with something that's like the size of, let's say, a crossword puzzle, and that's what you start to deal with in this game. And there will be parts where sometimes it'll just be 2 blocks or maybe even 1 block, and it has to be this certain number. So you always have to keep a certain number in play right there. So I found that was the best strategy, is to take the smallest lines first, add those up, and then with the remaining numbers, line them up as best I could. So what this becomes is actually kind of a Rubik's Cube of numbers. Like when you start to arrange the different letters and swap them around and see what the results are, honestly, you're going to get there faster doing that than actually doing math, unless you're just able to think that far ahead. So for this game, I think the point, if you're going to play it, is to know that some of these puzzles might take you hours, like all day. Like it's an all-day sucker of a puzzle game. There's no timer. The music is really dreamy and spacey and kind of, sometimes it's just like a mellow electric guitar, like strumming like these spaced out chords and stuff forever. And so you can tell the game is in no rush. They don't care when you get it done. And the other thing, this is probably the saving grace of this game, this is actually why I quite like the game, is that at any point you can reset the numbers and just start all over again with different numbers. So if like you're so mad that -8 just won't go away, just go ahead and restart all the tiles. Like they'll still, all of them will add up the same way, but all the numbers will change to where you're like, okay, now I can get over this mental block. So you're not stuck with like the same numbers every single time. So I quite like that.
Nice. So it definitely sounds like one of those easy to pick up, difficult to master kind of games.
Yes. This is the kind of game where a parent should be like, okay, I will buy you this new Mario game or the Escapists 2 if you can get through this one level.
Oh, God.
So like their 12-year-old or something. Because it's $3, so there's...
Never mind. You could have just said no, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just get a job, okay?
God, whatever. So
apart from that, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so for the $3, the asking price, what do you think?
$3, I mean, just know what you're getting into. Like I said that with the other games. It looks great, it sounds great, and it is insanely challenging for people who like number games. So if you like number games, then go ahead and pick this up because it will be very satisfying. Every time I beat a puzzle, it was like cause for celebration. And I'm moderately good at like number and puzzle games like that. I'm not a pro, but I could hang, and this game still had me like on my knees a couple of times.
So this is one of those situations where like action shooter dude bros need not apply.
I mean, or go ahead and do it and expand your mind. Gosh, like just whoever's interested in games with a whole bunch of numbers and like and really hard puzzles should at least give it a shot. It's cheap enough.
Sounds good. Well, one more game for you to talk about is called Baseball Riot, developed and published by our friends at 10 Tons. It released January 19th on the Switch for $4.99. Help Gabe Carpaccio take vengeance on the unholy alliance of his former team and a corrupt energy drink manufacturer, Explodes Inc. Start a Baseball Riot. Chris, what do you think of this one?
Explode Sync. I don't know. Okay, so the premise of this game might sound a little bit familiar because it's basically the same as Tennis in the Face. And I think we mentioned before that, if there was any justice in the world, this would have been called Baseball in the Face.
It really would have.
However, Baseball Riot, which is an okay title, is it's that, King Oddball and Tennis in the Face style, 10 tons level puzzle sort of thing. So you have that grid, the world grid, where you go in and you beat each level. They escalate in difficulty. And of course, everything is a physics puzzle, largely based on ricocheting. So this game, what I guess kind of separates it from Tennis in the Face is actually not really the character or the hang on. Sorry, had to do a very loud cough.
Should have let it go on the air, man.
Oh, you don't want it. It'll make you even more sick. It'll make our listeners sick. So I couldn't tell much difference in the physics between whacking a tennis ball against a whole bunch of walls and barriers and hitting a baseball. It's pretty straightforward. Straight trajectory that eventually starts arcing downward as it loses momentum. However, the actual stage setup of this is a lot different than Tennis in the Face. So the experience comes from the stages having a lot more angles, a lot more relying on having to be able to ricochet the thing perfectly. And it also introduces certain enemies that are not catchers, but like fieldsmen. What do you call the general outfield and infield catcher people?
Outfielders?
Yeah, but outfielders and infielders. But I don't know.
Outfielders and infielders.
Yeah, okay, that's what they're called.
Baseball players?
Baseballers. So there are other baseballers, the one that have the mitts, and if you don't hit them at the correct angle or from behind or anything like that, if you hit them near the mitt, they will catch the ball and you'll lose the ball. So you've got that, and then you've got the usual, like, old men. You've got exploding cans of energy soda, and honestly, like, I was really hoping for some hipsters or something like in Tennis in the Face, but I never saw them. I played quite a few stages into this one, so really, it's a lot that can be said about Tennis in the Face can be said about Baseball Riot. I think it's less funny and more challenging.
Gotcha.
Is about my quick soundbitey version of that.
Sounds good. So $5, is it still worth it?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, if you like the physics puzzle type of stuff. It's still amusing. It's very challenging. There's a plethora of levels. And I mean, that's the 10 tons, quality thing. In fact, I actually managed to beat King Oddball recently. So
look at you.
I've now run credits on my first 10 tons game.
Nice.
And it's hard. It's not often that I go back to games that once I'm done reviewing them, because I have so many that I do per week.
Yeah, we have so much shit to take care of.
Yeah, so it's got that 10 tons quality. Go pick it up if baseball is the thing that you like, or if you played all the way through Tennis in the Face and you want some more. I think it escalates the difficulty a little bit from Tennis in the Face. So if you're going to choose between the two, maybe pick up Tennis first and then baseball second.
But they're both cheap enough that just get them both.
Yeah, exactly. Just get them both.
And we're now at the point where 10 Tons has released their entire catalog on the Switch.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah,
that means
so
that...
I guess some bad news, you're not going to be getting weekly 10 Tons games to cover anymore.
Well, it's okay. They'll make more. They make so many games.
Indeed they will. Well, Chris, always good having you on chatting about this stuff. Instead of stopping and starting another recording, just tag out quick.
Okay. Your turn.
Because next game to talk about is called Of Mice in Sand Revised, developed and published by Arc System Works. Released January 11th on the Switch for $9.99. On a desert planet in the farthest reaches of space, mice await your command. Direct their mobile fortress and seek the legendary City of Gold. Brave an alien planet and turn your squeaking subordinates into first-class shipmates, all in the name of adventure. Catherine Baty, you are covering this one. How are you doing today?
I'm good.
You feeling better than Chris?
Probably. I think most people are. Just like in general, most people are feeling better than he is.
True. So how's this game?
This game is pretty... How is this game? So I've been playing it for a while. I kind of stayed up until 3 o'clock in the morning playing it the first time.
Oh, God.
I was like, I'll just play it for a little bit and get started, get through the tutorial. And then it was super late. And I was like, well, I guess I like this game.
What is this game? What do you do in this game?
Okay, so this is a micromanagement game. You have these little mice, and you tell them to build parts of their ship, and you want your ship to be the best ship so you can get super far in this weird desert and collect scraps that you can then turn into other pieces that you can use to build other rooms and also fulfill quests at different outposts that you get to. It's just like, oh, there's another thing I can do. Oh, there's another thing I can do. So it's just like this continual barrage of quests that gives you that keeps giving you new goals. So you never run out of things to do. Well, at least I haven't.
Visually, the game looks like it's very similar to something like Fallout Shelter.
Oh, absolutely. Except that you're moving. So instead of like being in the shelter, you're outside. Trying to...
yeah, the whole mobile fortress thing, I guess.
Yeah, because you're still like, you have your fortress, but and then there's these things called desert dwellers. So if your ship stops in between two outposts, so like in between two towns, if your ship stops for too long, these things called desert dwellers, which are sandworms. Did you ever see that movie, Dune?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the giant, except these are metal worms, come out and they eat you, and then you have to go back to Starting City.
Oh, God.
It's called Starting City or Starting something. I don't remember right now. But it's like, it's what it sounds like. It's the place where you started. And you have to start your whole trip all over again. But you do start your trip all over again with a full fuel tank. So that's part's good at least. So far, there isn't any real dying in the game, so there's no way to lose. So you don't have to feel bad if you're a little bit slow on getting the game mechanics down. So far, only complaint is that I had to reinstall the game because the ability to use the Joy-Cons just stopped working.
Interesting.
For no reason. But then I reinstalled it. It was fine. I accidentally put the game in Japanese when that happened. And I don't speak Japanese. But I remembered which buttons I pushed to get it to Japanese. So I was able to get it back to English. recommendations for this game would be don't overplay the tutorial. Because I played it a little long and I lost my infirmary, so now I have to work really hard to get that back. I have a tendency to play tutorials for way longer than developers mean them to be played. So I was when I got my infirmary, I should have already had like my next ship. I should have been out of my tutorial ship, but I wasn't.
Oh god.
So it was my own fault.
Is it something that you just enjoy learning, or you enjoy poking around with everything that's there before moving on?
I like poking around.
Gotcha.
I'm like, oh, I want to do all of these quests first. I want to do these quests first too. Oh, look, if I talk to that guy, I can get into a new area, but I need $4,000. But that new ship costs $2,000. I'm going to talk to this guy and get this new area first. So
it sounds a lot like me when I would play RPGs. It's like, well, the main quest is over there, or there's about 1 billion other things in the other direction that I'm not powerful enough for yet, but if I grind, I can get there.
I spent 20 hours before I got my castle in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Holy shit.
I didn't even realize there was more to the game until like coworkers were like, hey, have you gotten your castle yet? I was like, what are you talking about? What castle?
Oh my lord.
And they were like, that's like an hour or two into the game. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm 20 hours in, guys. Come on.
Holy hell.
I know my problems, so it's okay.
Well, it
But
sounds
this
like a
game
good
is
problem to
super
have
fun.
of mice and sand.
Yeah, it's the continuing of giving me quests. Like, I really like that. I always have something to do. I have I can be planning my next move while I'm making my current move. So that's really cool. So that way you don't get bored with this game. You don't run out of ideas.
Yeah, it's good
And
when a
it's,
game gives you too much to do instead of not enough shit to do.
Yeah, it does. It really does give you too much to do. Like, I just opened up a bunch of new areas. I have the game out in front of me right now. And so I'm working on upgrading things so I can get out to these new areas. But I have to make sure that I have enough synthetic cheese to feed my mice.
Synthetic cheese. Oh, Lord.
Yes, it's one of the items in the game is synthetic. Oh, it's synthesized cheese.
Gotcha.
Synthesized cheese. And you mix it with synthesized water to create cheese stew, which gives up the mice a bunch of calories. You have like 3 main stats in this game, and it's the HP for your ship, your fuel, and your calories. And so like all of your mice need to eat. So if you run out of food, then the ship's going to stop because the mice aren't going to work if they're hungry.
Nice.
And if you run out of fuel, then your ship's going to stop because your ship can't go without fuel. If you run out of HP, then you have to go back it takes you back to the starting city, and they rebuild your ship and take most of your money. It's happened to me a few times. Those darn desert dwellers. But it's really cool. The menu's easy to get a hang of. There was only the one issue when I first started. It was like push the button to begin, but it didn't say what button. It just said push the button.
Did any button work, or did you need a specific one?
I needed a specific one. It was X.
See, that's how they get you.
Yeah. So, but I figured it out because there's only so many buttons on the Joy-Cons.
Very true. It's a process of elimination.
Yeah, it was like learning how to play Stardew Valley, but a lot easier.
Nice. Well, overall, for $10, what do you think of Mice and Sand Revised?
Oh, absolutely. If you're into micromanaging games, or, just micromanaging in your life, maybe you can, get it out a little bit in this game instead of the people around you. I super dig it. For $10, it's absolutely worth it. I'm going to go back to playing it because it's fun, and I want to go see what's in these other places. You can talk to people in the game. You can you go to the bar and you buy other mice drinks, and they tell you things about other places that you can go. So there's all of these little things that you can do in the game that just make it really enjoyable and super addicting.
Nice. Sounds good. Well, Catherine, thank you so much for joining the show once again and talking about this game. Don't let Chris die over there, please.
I'll try.
I mean, if he has to, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. But I don't know. I kind of like him.
Yeah, he's pretty cool.
Do you have any final thoughts to sum it all up?
No, thanks for letting me review this game. It was really fun. I hope I'll be back soon.
All right, moving on. Next game to talk about is called My Time at Portia, developed by Pathea Games, published by Team17, released January 23rd on Steam Early Access for $19.99. Start a new life in the enchanting town of Portia. Restore your pa's neglected workshop to its former glory, grow crops, raise animals, befriend the town's quirky inhabitants, and uncover the mysteries this charming post-apocalyptic land has forgotten. Good friend Tom Miller checked this one out. Tom, how you doing?
Hey, everything's going all right over here.
Things doing good.
Yeah, everything has gotten off to a good start this year. It's been a while since I've been on. It seems like it's been a few weeks.
It has. We took some time off with MagFest, and before that, New Year, and you were kind of busy with family, and I was busy with family, and things just, we drifted apart.
Yes.
I'm happy that you're back.
Yeah.
And it feels so good. So I want to know more about My Time at Portia, but I got to admit, I was pretty on board with what everything was until that very end of the description of post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it works. So it's an open world sandbox game. It's sort of along the lines of a Harvest Moon or an Animal Crossing, where you're like the newcomer to this town of Portia, and you're taking over your dad's old workshop and trying to kind of make a name for yourself. And you go around and you can meet lots of different NPCs. They're not animals, unlike Animal Crossing. They're human-ish. They're all like super deformed and stuff. But even though it's in its early access state, it's not even in early access. The version I played of it was an alpha, so early access takes off tomorrow as of the time we're recording this. But even so, like, it's pretty impressive the amount of stuff that was there. There are a lot of NPCs. You can get all kinds of different quests, and some of them have mini games. But as for the post-apocalyptic part, so like kind of you find out as you're exploring, and there's actually more stuff on the website. So it's kind of like probably being incorporated more into the game. But you find out that you're like centuries after this like robotic war kind of destroyed the entire continent. And this is kind of like the civilization that's built up on top of that.
That is interesting. Normally you hear post-apocalyptic and things are like brown and gray and browner and grayer.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like beautiful colors, and it feels like some kind of Harvest Moon-esque world.
Yeah, and they took a lot of inspiration from Hayao Miyazaki, so like from like Castle in the Sky and Nausicaa. So it has that really beautiful, like sort of like technological but still very green, and like there are all these ancient mysteries that have yet to be unearthed. It's a really cool way to present that kind of thing. And there are like, the story has like this sort of a conflict between the church in the area and the researchers. So it's like the science versus religion kind of thing. Even though the story is kind of, there's not all that much there quite yet, you can still like get the sense that there's some really interesting stuff going on. And when you're going around talking to people, it's cool because you can get some little mini games going on. One of the things that I like about this game that I don't think I've seen in other Harvest Moon type of games is that you have the opportunity to spar with a lot of the different townspeople. So you can actually, like, one of the best ways to get money in the early game is just to beat the crap out of everyone that you meet. And that's, and then they actually, like, they respect you more for it. So maybe it doesn't teach the best morals, but it is still entertaining.
Oh man. Yeah. So what all do you do in the game?
So you do a lot of stuff, and that was kind of one of the things that I felt was a little lacking, is that you do kind of feel like everything is just kind of all over the place. But you can craft items and different furniture and weapons and tools in your workshop. You do take commissions from the different townspeople who want you to either craft things for them or find certain types of items. So it's a very like kind of a quest heavy game. But then you do get new abilities as the game goes on. It almost has a bit of a Minecraft thing going on with the ability to learn how to craft new objects. Like you end up getting like a smelter and different types of crafting that you can
smelter. I barely know her. I'm an asshole.
That's okay. Yeah, so if you're a fan of like the whole like Minecraft Harvest Moon kind of thing, it does have like a similar flow to it as far as the game goes. The time passes as the game goes on. They have like a day-night cycle, and people all have their own schedules. So it's I mean, it really is just kind of exploring, interacting with townspeople. You get like some spelunking going on where you can go into caves and find new artifacts, and there are other dungeons as well that you find artifacts of the ancient civilization in.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of trying to uncover the history of this world and make a name for yourself in the town.
It is amazing how similar in style this game seems to. Earlier in the show with our friend Henry Jones, we talked about the game Staxel. And it feels very similar to that, but with a more cartoonish visual style instead of like the blocky Minecraft look. And it looks like this game has or will eventually have a heavier focus on questing and combat as well.
Yeah, and there is plenty of both in the alpha build that I played, so I'm kind of hoping that they get further into that in the full release of the game. Because
to be fair, the game did just, by the time the episode is out, the game just released on early access. The Steam page says they're looking to be in early access for about 9 months, so I'm sure through the end of the year we'll see a lot more improvements on the game. They're looking to add new areas, side quests, story content, mini games. It looks like they have really, really good plans. I'm curious to know, is the foundation that's here good enough to check out at $20, or do you think it's something that we should just keep an eye on eventually?
So I think right now, well, I mean, the game was already a pretty big success on Kickstarter. They made like 3 times what they were asking for. So I think a lot of people are probably just going to be getting it anyway. But if you are a fan of that type of game, it does have a lot to offer. Even though it is a little bit bare bones right now, it's about to get a lot less so. So I do think it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. And when the actual full game comes out, I have no doubt that it's going to be really worth playing for any fans of the Animal Crossing Harvest Moon type of like town simulator type of games with a little bit extra RPG going on as well.
I appreciate seeing all the extra RPG and questing and combat elements as well to keep things fresh.
Totally. And it has really great music too. It's really, really pretty.
Yeah, it looks really good. Oh, man. Tom, thank you as always for coming on and chatting about this game. Any final thoughts about it?
Oh, just, it's fun and stuff.
I love your ending. All right, next game to talk about, we have a very, very early preview of the game Laser League, developed by Roll7, published by 505 Games. It's such an early preview that we don't have any kind of release date outside of early 2018 to work with. No price yet either, but we do know that this coming weekend, the 26th through the 28th, there will be an open beta on Steam to check out. Blink and You Are Dead Laser League is the new last word in high-speed future sports team action. Battle against the opposition for control of nodes that bathe the arena in deadly light. Evade rival colored beams and fry your opponents with speed, strength, and strategy. Covering this one, our good friend Royal Sefton. Royal, how are you doing?
I'm good. Royal Sefton, Roll7, they sound very similar, don't they?
They do. It's like it was meant to be.
Yeah, and I happen to like Roll7's games so far, and so I think it's fitting.
Indeed, you were actually really excited when I mentioned this one to you about a very early preview event that you were able to take part in. I wasn't even a part of it, so what the hell happened?
Dude, okay. So I was invited to a Skype server, and I'm still on it. I don't know if I'm supposed to be or if they just never kick us out. But and they'll kind of cordon you into this private room for virtual events to voice chat while you play the game with a couple of the folks involved in it. And so I played it on Steam for about an hour, and Yeah, it was pretty good. I got my ass handed to me, which was humbling, but in all fairness, these guys play it every day. It's my first 60 minutes of the game. So, but it was a lot of fun. It was fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Tell us about the game. What is it? I'm not sure what all you're allowed to talk about, but give us the deets, man.
Yeah. So the whole thing just screams Tron. I'll put it that way first and foremost. It's like a gladiatorial future combat game. You're in this neon colored arena, and you look like you're out of Daft Punk or Tron Legacy or something. You're decked out in these colors, and you're carrying some kind of an energy shield or a weapon, depending on which of the 6 classes you play as. And you'll do either 1-on-1 up to 4-on-4. In this arena where you have to generate these laser walls and try to get your opponents to walk into them or bump them into them. Or depending on your ability, you can do other things like steal their laser walls, which will be color coded based on which team you're on. Or maybe you can just chop them right in half because there's one class that actually uses some sort of a sword. But it's very, very fast. As the rounds get on longer and longer, which is a minute or two sometimes, then it might start to get a little extra chaotic, and the walls get longer and larger, so it's harder to dodge stuff. But most of the rounds were over in like 30 seconds.
Oh, nice. So it keeps things moving along.
Yeah. It's really brightly colored, really pretty, but it's kind of top down, and the arena that you play in wraps around. So it kind of like in Pac-Man, you can go out one side and come out the other. And so there's a lot of strategy to it, depending on the class you play as, how you do the arena. Occasionally power-ups will spawn, which allow you to maybe invert, like you have a blue team and an orange team, and the walls that were blue become orange and vice versa, or you shut down all the walls and have to start up again. As you drop your opponents, you can resurrect them. So there's a very good high-level game hiding in there. I only got to play an hour of it, so unfortunately I didn't quite get to experience it, but I got to see a glimpse of it. As you start to pick different teams or you work with your teammates, you can get a combo strategy going on, one that can stun and the other one that can swing and kill, that blade, and as you're holding still, for example, or one that can steal the node and turn it into one of their own. So you change the wall to the color that dissolves them when they think they're safe. Very crafty game, and very quick.
Nice. It sounds really, really cool. I wish you could have had a bit more time with it so we could hear more about it. It looks like the full game is going to have like over 60 characters, 4v4 online and offline modes, just tons of customization, power-ups. It sounds like it's going to be a crazy game.
Yes, and so when it goes into open beta here real soon, I think that's going to be a real hit. I'm looking forward to it. Also, it's a good couch game. Didn't get that opportunity, but since you can do local multiplayer, I think that's going to be just fantastic. As the guys that I was playing with encouraged, they said trash talking is encouraged. I don't have the trash talk in me. I'm too nice. At one point I said something about like "get up, you pig," and I don't know if they thought I was calling him a pig. I wasn't. It was that my character was stunned and I couldn't pull him up off the ground. And like, ooh, pig. Oh no, you're not a pig. I don't even know you, man. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed it. I think the thing that's so funny about it is that it's so fast. Sometimes you might be going for the same node that you want to light up as a laser wall of your own at the same time as them, and then it's just a matter of who got there first.
Nice.
One person turns it on, the other person just gets zapped.
Nice.
Like that. Yeah. So we did a few rounds of 2-on-2, and the AI I was paired off with was pretty brutal. Kept me alive quite often. I probably would have done a lot worse if it weren't for that. They got really solid bots in it so far.
Sounds good. Well, maybe you can put a little more time into the open beta this weekend. Again, it runs January 26th through the 28th on Steam, open beta. So go grab it, play it. Or actually, we'll ask your advice. Since we can't give a recommendation on the game yet, since, we don't have a release date or price or anything like that, right. Should people check out the open beta this weekend? Yeah. Get on it. I definitely think you'll enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Awesome.
yeah, I'm hoping I can. When I was doing the preview, and I'm assuming it's because there are only a few people that were, playing it at the time. When you go do your multiplayer game, we were waiting for a good, 90 seconds for it to time out and say, okay, I'm going to backfill you with an AI because I have nobody else available. But on that open beta, yeah, I bet you get paired off quick. And dude, it's a lot of fun.
I might have to give it a shot myself this weekend to see if my PC can handle it.
Yes, definitely.
Maybe I'll bug you on Saturday and we'll be like, hey, do you want to try that game? Then you'll kick my ass. Well, Royal, thank you so much for checking out that Laser League preview event. I know, I know you'll be back on in about a few minutes after whatever other reviews and then our chitty chat for later on. So, let's just pretend. Stay here and I'll talk to you in a few.
Choo choo.
All right, moving on. Next game to talk about is called Zero Gunner 2 Dash, developed and published by Zero Div. It released January 25th on the Switch for $7.99. Play the good old arcade game, famous for its cool world and innovatively omnidirectional shooting system. Zero Gunner 2 is coming back as Zero Gunner 2 Dash, or 2 minus, who knows. Let's blast off every enemy's planes from various sides of your screen. Fans who have enjoyed Psycho's shooting will definitely enjoy this new Zero Gunner 2 Dash. The compilation of Psycho shooting game Zero Gunner 2 Dash is now on release. God, I love those write-ups. Anyway, our good friend Pernell Vaughn's covering this one. Pernell, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. The holiday drought is already pretty much a goner. Like, games are dropping like candy.
Yeah, so we're covering, I think there's 11 reviews and previews on this episode.
Yikes.
Yeah, so it's a longer one.
Yeah, and we haven't even hit the mainstream yet. Is this the episode that's going to have Dragon Ball on it?
Yeah.
Oh man, see I believe this is the week that kicks off like regular seasons again, and then next week is going to be nutty too. Actually, last week we had Digimon, so
I didn't pick that one up.
I bought it mainly because I loved the original Cyber Sleuth. It was a really good game, especially as a person who did not give two hoots about Digimon back in the day.
Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon have more power.
But not than Pokemon as far as the marketing retail goes. Screw that. Pokemon took it.
Very true. But Zero Gunner, tell me about this one. What is this game?
I guess the best thing to say outright for people who are listening is if you've played Cannon Spike, I had for the Dreamcast back in the day, I had no idea, but I'm pretty sure this is the grandfather of Cannon Spike, because it has the exact same format of gameplay. You start out the game by picking one of 3 ships. There might be some secret ones unlockable, I don't know, but there are at least 3 ships. Each ship has a specific type of gun, like a main gun, and an option fire. Option being essentially so you need to use heavy firepower on a guy. Press this button and go blah, blah, blah. One guy gets options on the side of his ship a la Gradius that fires additional bullets for a period of time. Another guy gets like a concussion, like a standing sentry that shoots a beam straight out. And I can't remember what the third guy does, but I didn't like him, so whatever. And essentially the way the game works is when you start it up, after you pick your ship, the game randomly selects from one of 4 stages. And you go through each of those levels. And each level is basically 2 small sections and then like a mid-boss and a final boss. And the way gameplay works is it's a top-down. The games can move around, like the bottom of the image, essentially. The screen can move, but you're kind of in a stationary rectangular screen. And enemies come in from all sides, and your ship has to fly around and blow these things up with, guns. But the thing that makes this pretty cool and unique is this is not necessarily exactly a twin-stick shooter. The way it actually works is you have to press a button and then use the cross stick to kind of twerk your ship, like spin it around. So you are constantly redirecting your fire and spinning your ship around by using this button. And it takes some getting used to because, again, it's literally like you're basically using the button to direct the tail of the ship. But while you might sit there and ask yourself, well, why can't I just use 2 sticks and use it as a twin stick shooter? My answer is shut up, dumb nut. The game is meant to be played this way. Don't worry about that. And the thing about it that makes it cool is that it requires a different set of skills than a traditional twin stick shooter because of you having to control the tail of the ship. One thing that was surprising about this game, and I'm not sure if this affects the difficulty of future levels or what, but bosses can actually escape. Like the mid bosses, when you fight them, if you don't blow them up in enough time, they'll just leave the screen, and you'll move on. It's an interesting concept, and it makes me wonder if that just means that there's like different tiers of stages. So, like, say you beat this boss, then maybe the final boss of that level is going to be harder because you've shown the game that you have the skills to be able to beat the new boss that's coming up. So, I enjoy that. The game itself,
given it's an arcade game, it might just be a score thing.
That's a good point too. Yeah, and they do have the high score meter and or high score table in like full array for people to check out and see how they did in the game. But honestly, the game is very challenging, but then again, it shouldn't surprise anybody. It's a Sekio game. It is a arcade shooter. There you go. But the game is actually pretty challenging. I played on the level 4 rank, and I never was able to get past the Asian slums, which is the 5th level. Seems like every time you play the game, it's always the 5th level. But with that said, this is one. I mean, I played Cannon Spike ad nauseum back in the day, and I may have beaten it once. So just goes to show you this game is not about me like, oh, you didn't put up time. No, I played this game because I legitimately think it's cool. It's just you're going to work your butt off, and I also have a thing about slipping the difficulty slider down. I won't do it. I refuse to do it.
Really?
I was playing on I was on the default difficulty the whole time, man. I can't in good faith do it because it's like the game is there, it's challenging to play. So to slide the difficulty down to 1 is like saying I want to just max out the levels, which, as we know, being an arcade game, there aren't that many of them, likely. And you're done with the game. It's like, no, just beat it at default at least, and then move it up if you want to keep playing it, or move on to something else. But know that if you beat the game, you beat it at what's likely to be the arcade setting if the guy running the arcade wasn't a rip-off artist.
Very true. So $8 on this one. What do you think?
Oh, buy it. If you like shooters and you're okay with dying a lot, it's a great game. It's not a lot of complexity to it, but the fun factor is there in spades.
All right, next game to talk about is called Flying Tiger Shadows Over China, developed and published by Ace Maddox, released January 12th on Xbox One for $18.99. Take on the role of a headstrong fighter pilots, self-sacrificing transport navigators, and daring bomber crews and gunners to repel the onslaught of the Japanese war machine. Dogfight skilled enemy aces using hit-and-run tactics, carry out breakaway airstrikes behind enemy lines, and take part in the defense of China's critical supply routes. Pernell, both of us played this one quite a bit. What did you think of this game?
Well, the first thing to point out is when you mentioned the game to me, you said this game is a dogfighting simulator of sorts. My first thought, believe it or not, was Star Fox 64.
Really?
So, yeah, back in the day, I had Star Fox 64, and my favorite component of that game was actually the multiplayer game, which was a very simplified version of Star Fox where you have your ship, and other players are fighting against you, and you can either fire your laser gun at them or you can throw a bomb into the screen and blow people up, and last man standing wins. So I wanted to play this game to see if it gave me that same sense of dogfighting that Star Fox did way back when.
I want to thank you real quick for when I said dogfighting to you, you thought of Star Fox and not like Michael Vick dogfighting.
Oh, God, no.
Because I mentioned it to some other people. It's like, yeah, it's a dogfighting game. And they're like, what, with like real dogs? No, like fucking airplanes, dogfighting. What the?
I know they're probably friends of yours, but God, why would you make such a stupid leap? So, there's a guy out there, he's releasing an actual game where you get to fight dogs. You know how many people have been waiting for that product? Like, no one's waiting for an actual dog fighting game. Nobody.
Yeah, so thank you for thinking of the proper dog fighting. Thank you. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Oh my God.
So did you feel that this lived up to your Star Fox expectations?
Honestly, I believe it did. It did lack the sky explosion, but then again, that's also space explosion. There's no actual bomb out there, at least I could think of, that's like launching in the sky and then bursting in the air and taking out all the ships around it. So
yeah, this feels more grounded in reality than Star Wars kind of effects.
Yeah, but it definitely carries the feel of dogfighting to the letter. You have comrades in arms. The game, if you do the campaign at least, gives you a couple of people that, even though you don't necessarily like click with them necessarily, you still kind of get that sensation like, oh crap, my man's in trouble. He's like, oh, I got some bogeys on my tail, whatever. You got to fly after him and shoot the guys that are tailing them out of the sky. And also, of course, eventually somebody might start tailing you, so you got to barrel roll to get out of the way. You might, shoot down to the ground and pull up. And I also like the fact that even though they have like a button to slow down the plane, they also accounted for the fact that if you slow down for too long, you will decelerate to the point where your plane will just go down.
Yeah, so, I had that happen for me. I was slowing down, trying to take care of one of the gunners, and I took care of it, and it was like the mission accomplished screen popped up, or it showed a cutaway of like them crashing and burning, something like that. And then it came back to me, and my plane was just like diving and diving and diving. I'm like, what the fuck happened? What the fuck? And I exploded and died. And I didn't realize that I slowed down so much trying to get that last guy that I pretty much didn't have enough momentum to keep moving. And I didn't think to try accelerating again. I thought something was just wrong, and something was wrong. I'm a fucking idiot. So
both of us were, because then afterwards we probably likely both realized that the game does offer a sort of bullet time feature where you can kind of slow down time and then get the guy in your crosshairs and it's like pow, 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 and take him out. Though one thing that, I got better as I started playing more of the game, but even with my skill increase, the one thing that kind of messed with me, for better or worse, it depends on the player, I guess, is that it takes a bit of time to shoot down a plane. Like, you will be circling the same plane a good bit before you actually take him down. And in addition to that, these guys aren't just going to stay in your crosshairs and take bullets up the butt.
Oh, no, they won't.
They will dodge, be juking. You got to know when to turn the bullet time off so you don't waste it while the guy's leaving your crosshairs. It is crazy. But in that regard, I think it's also kind of nifty because it's not just giving you the win. You have to actually follow guys. You got to kind of preempt what you think they're going to do, how you think they're going to try to escape you, and follow suit. You got to barrel roll to get out of the way of pursuers that are coming after you to protect their guys. You also have to deal with the occasional ground units or ships that are out in the water. And when that happens, you have to actually use bombing equipment to drop bombs on top of the guys and pretty much blow them up. That aspect of the game, I had some challenges with. I'm not going to necessarily blame the game for this, though. I will admit, I feel like that's mainly me, because they give you access to a bombing camera, and they also give you access to the right thumbstick, which will allow you to kind of maneuver the camera in whatever way you want it to be positioned. So they give you options to aim the bomb properly, but I just sucked at doing it regardless. So
see, the first few times I tried bombing things, I would use the little white circle on the ground to try aiming with that, and I would just hit the B button to drop a bomb, and I would miss. And then I was thinking, well, I have a handful of bombs here. Why don't I just lay down a carpet bomb and so I line myself up? As soon as I saw the thing close to the aiming reticle, I just mashed the B button. I dropped all my bombs. I took everything out, and it worked fine.
And that's probably what I would likely have to do too. Though, of course, the dilemma there is if you do it, then you're like, shoot, if I got multiple targets, I wait for my bomb supply to reload themselves.
No, then you just circle around, but then you know that you wiped out that one thing, or if there were a couple clumped together, you got to take them out.
That is true. Take them all out.
So did you have fun with this game? Because I enjoyed it quite a bit. I actually enjoyed the game a lot more than I expected I would. I thought the controls were really solid. It took a bit to learn everything, but once you learned everything, it felt really well. But my biggest issue control-wise was due to the Xbox One controller. One of my biggest gripes I've had with the Xbox One controller is how loose the analog sticks are.
Are you talking about when you try to keep the crosshairs on the other ships?
Yeah, you'll try moving around. It's just your crosshairs move everywhere because of how hard it is to fine tune any kind of directional inputs with the Xbox One controller. I had to drop the sensitivity down to 20, and default is 50 and 60.
That explains what happened to me, because I was having that problem too. I was eventually just kind of feather touching it the whole friggin' time, but that's not the way you want to do it, especially if you're in the heat of the moment. I did one of the challenges in the game, and the challenge is to survive for as long as possible. No particular time limit. But there is an achievement for surviving for 15 minutes. And I figured, hey, I'll play the game, and if I get there, I get there. So I ended up making it for 20 minutes.
Nice.
But eventually got to the point where there were maybe 12 ships all trying to take me out at the same time. And I'm trying to follow a guy to shoot him, and two guys are on my tail trying to blow me out of the sky. I'm like, shoot, no time to complain. I'm did a barrel roll straight to the ground and then pulled up. And it got to the point where I was like, oh my God, this would be a lot better if I could actually focus the DME.
Yeah, I would definitely try lowering the aiming sensitivity. I found it a lot easier once I dropped it. Again, that's always been my one gripe with the Xbox One controller. When you go from an Xbox 360 analog stick to the Xbox One, it is so much looser and so much harder to use. But I'm glad you brought up challenges, because that kind of leads into the content of the game. I think this game is fairly packed with content, between a story campaign, between online and offline dogfighting, pretty much just a bunch of enemies trying to kill each other. They have challenges and missions. There's a lot of shit to do in this game.
There really is. Though we do have to outright admit, we were talking about it earlier too, the only thing that saddens me about that amount of content is that I was originally kind of hoping that for a game like this, given that they totally, like these nice, like not necessarily realistic, but fairly close to realistic, at least like aircrafts and weaponry. I was hoping you'd be able to at least switch between different types of loadouts or different planes with the intent of getting, preferred weaponry to take out adversaries or something. But from what I gather, even though some of the planes have different guns and the like, at least for the campaign and in some of the challenges I've done, they just give you the ship and you just control it. Like, there's no real sense of select the weapon or select the ship with the type of firearms you want or anything like that.
Yeah, well, so, I think part of that is if you were in wartime and there was a fleet of airplanes coming in to take you out, when you jumped into your plane, were you going to be like, oh, hold on, I need different guns, this bomb lineup? And no, you just hop in, you fly, and you try to kill some fuckers before they kill you.
No, this won't do.
I'm sorry, this paint scheme is just it's not working with my feng shui right now.
I requested the plane with the teeth on the nose. Okay? It shows my enemies how angry I am and how much I could really use a sandwich.
But I love the fact that it had online as well. I like the fact that it encourages you to go online and just have massive dogfights with other people.
And from the way I gathered, it looks like it can probably accommodate a fair number of online players.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really, really solid game. I think $18.99 is pretty much just on the border of what I would expect people to play or people to pay for this game. So $18.99, if you're a fan of dogfighting games, if you're looking for a new flight sim, and you don't want to wait for a new Ace Combat game, this is here. It's only $19 and it plays really well, and I had a good time with it. I would definitely give it a recommended try it.
Likewise, try it, but a for sale buy it.
I agree.
Like if I saw this game for sale on sale for like $10, I'd just buy it. All right, but the thing is, we can't guarantee it's going to go on sale or when that will happen. So it's at least recommended to try at its current price point. And hey, by all means, support the developer who made the game so they can hopefully make more games like it or better than this.
Yeah, it's not often that you see flight sims coming to console. And from what I could see, at least right now, this is an Xbox console exclusive. So jump on there, support people who are releasing exclusive titles on Xbox.
Yeah, Tonto.
If you have 15 friends, you could all play online together.
Actually, that would be a cool thing. If you could actually coordinate that many people, like you only have to worry about the randomness of the internet. You can just like, yo, guys, we're going to play right now.
Yeah.
Everybody gets on and shoots up.
You and 15 friends. It's cool that they have 16-person dogfights. That's really cool.
Yeah, and they're squad based. You can do squad based ones too. So you can actually team up with a specific sect of those friends and go against the other sect of them, other squad of bombers or bomb flyers.
Although looking at the description, I do have to appreciate the fact that we're now at a point in time where one of the features of the game is pay once and play, no microtransactions or free-to-play elements. For a single purchase, you'll get the full standalone experience with unrestricted multiplayer.
Oh, if only that could be everything in the game. I was actually brought on to Fortnite recently, and as cool as the game's premise is and the concept, I was rolling my eyes so hard the entire time we played that game. I'm like, this is a free game, and I'm still angry.
Oh, God. Anyway, one final game to talk about, World to the West, developed and published by Rain Games. It released January 18th on the Switch for $19.99. Take control of 4 unique characters, each with their own motivations, skills, and interweaving storylines as they seek to escape the dark shadow of an ancient prophecy. Travel through corrupt colonies, lush jungles, and frozen tundras as you snoop through the secrets of a forgotten civilization. Be careful, though. Nothing is ever what it seems. Pernell, what did you think of World to the West?
I got what I did not expect to get, and that is a very charming adventure. For those who are not in the know, this is from the same company that made the game Teslagrad, and it actually takes place in the same universe as Teslagrad. Or, I'm sorry, it takes place in a parallel universe opposite the one from Teslagrad, which is in and of itself kind of cool. It basically shows you where the technology from Teslagrad comes from. That's not a spoiler. That's pretty much the beginning of the freaking game. But anyway, the idea is that you are controlling 4 different characters. Each one, as Joe mentioned, had their own abilities, more of which you unlock a la Zelda treasure chests, which allows you to explore the landscape to accomplish various goals. One thing about this game that I both like and also dislike is the fact that you can traverse different areas of the map with individual characters. Other areas cannot be traversed by other characters, but 1 or 2 that are meant to do it. But what ends up happening is if you're in a situation where the game will tell, and this happens a lot, mind you, where the game will say, okay, you 3 are on a mission, go do this. And you're like, okay, we're all hanging out. So what ends up happening is you pick one character at the teleportation totem, which is pretty much the warp points in the game, and you traverse, let's say, 2 screens of environment. Solve some puzzles, kill some dudes, what have you. And when you get to the next totem pole, you then have to switch back to the previous guy at the former totem, who then has to traverse the landscape that you just left behind, but in his own unique way. So it's like one guy might say, use a scarf as a hook shot to kind of jump across chasms, but then the next guy can crawl under burrows to get, to the other side instead of having to actually have the scarf because he can't do the same thing. So it's fun to do. Don't get me wrong. I've never found myself going, oh, this is so boring, but it does also feel like a weird way to kind of pad out gameplay time. But if you can deal with that, you get yourself a pretty charming story. I like every character that you were interacting with in this game so far. They're all pretty cool. They have colorful personalities. The puzzles are not complicated, but they're fun. And there's a lot of treasure chest-based secrets to discover as you play the game. Though I'll admit, those treasure chests typically contain either health container upgrades or money. And aside from 1 or 2 things, I have no clue what my money's supposed to do. I have over $1,500. I have no idea what to do with this money at all. I'm just finding the chest because I like finding chests. And I assume that later on there's going to be something that happens where it's hey, if you spend money here, maybe you can unlock this dungeon or unlock passage to this place, or I don't know. But I want to know what to do with all this money. I have all these coins. What am I supposed to do with all these coins? But, the writing is excellent. The music is actually really nice. There's no loud crescendo points. There's no rock music ready to just blow your eardrums out. It's very melodic and calming, and some soothing in some places. In other places, it does incite a sense of urgency, but it never blows your eardrums out or actually makes you feel oh man, I'm in an action movie. Throughout and through, you're on an adventure, and the game lets you know you're on an adventure through colorful graphics and excellent sounds. I'm very pleased with this game. I'm still progressing through it, but I've put in easily over 10 hours so far. I'm just still going. I love the game. I'm really enjoying it. I didn't expect it to be as enjoyable as I am having with it as it is now. I knew about the Teslagrad link, just didn't know how, and I still didn't believe that was going to be the thing that was going to say, oh, well, this is why I'm going to play this game, and it still isn't. It's just a small perk. It's not the reason I'm playing the game, but it's legitimately enjoyable.
All right, well, I'm good to hear that the game, for the most part, is pretty much the same on the Switch as other platforms. Does it perform well on the Switch?
Yes, I have heard weird rumors that there were some glitches here and there on other systems back in the day, but I've had no issues with that here. There's been no glitches, there's been no slowdown, no freezes, and nothing.
That's good to hear.
And it also is kind of convenient in the way the game works because there's no save feature. It just kind of auto-saves as you go. So if you shut the game off at some point because, being on the Switch, you want to put it to sleep or just turn the thing off and you come back, you pretty much don't lose any progress. It's surprisingly convenient for that.
Nice. Well, overall, for $20, what do you think of World of the West?
If you're looking for an adventure and and Breath of the Wild was too modern for you, I think this game is hot. It's worth your money, man. Get it.
It really is. I really enjoyed this one when we covered it on Xbox. I'm thrilled to see it on the Switch. I'm excited to see what Rain Games does next. Between Teslagrad and World of the West, they are on my radar as far as companies that can seemingly do no wrong.
2 for 2.
Indeed. Good stuff. Well, Pernell, thank you so much for joining and chatting games with me. Everyone else, we're going to take a quick break. We will be back. I know it's been a long one. We got a little bit more show to go because after a quick break, Christopher Forgie of Kalypso will be here chatting about Railway Empire. Should be a really, really fun chat. So stick around. And Pernell, any final words to end this all?
I need meaty vegetables. If anybody has food that is calorie-less and filling and delicious, please send it to my P.O. box at whatever. Oh, God, dieting sucks.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for hanging around. Got an interview to take care of right now, but I'm a little bit under the weather, so I'm bringing in a good friend to help me out. Royal Sefton, how are you doing, sir?
I'm hanging in there and keeping warm. How about you, man?
I'm still a little bit under the weather, so that's why you're here. Plus the fact that we're talking about a game that you played. As we are once again welcoming our friend Christopher Forgie of Kalypso. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. How you guys doing?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, that sounds very reassuring.
'Tis the season, right? Everything's just gray, cold, and ugly out.
Just a good old man.
Except for Royal, who lives where? Phoenix?
Correct.
I hate you.
70 degrees, clear skies for, I don't know, probably the next 180 days or more.
That's wonderful.
Yep. Living the dream.
I don't like you anymore.
So we have the wonderful, beautiful northeastern month of January here in the Northeast. So that's what we got to deal with.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait for February. Those are usually even nicer.
Well, at least you got a good game coming out soon that you could play inside.
Indeed, we do. That game is Railway Empire. That is what you are here to talk about today. And for the people who don't know what the game is, give us the sales pitch.
Give us a sales pitch right over here. I think I can do that for you. So there's a couple different features in the game that we're going to go over. But the main thing is that you're trying to become the ultimate rail tycoon. We wanted to bring back that strategy sim type feeling of the previous type rail games that you've seen. But we also put our own spin on it, too. I mean, like, for one, even the period piece aspect, you'll notice that that's something that makes it stick out. There's realism. There's excellent graphics with it. So you're going to see a lot of different features that separate this from previous games. But basically, you are on the 100-year span to becoming the ultimate rail tycoon.
That sounds really, really awesome. What kind of gameplay is it?
So there's a couple of different types of gameplay that you can do. I mean, there's a sandbox mode, there's a campaign mode, there's a free mode. So it really depends on what you're looking for. So we give a couple different options in how you design your locomotives, the direction you can go in. We even have different levels of easy and realistic. That's actually what we call the more difficult one is realistic. So it depends on which mode that you prefer.
I like that it's called realistic and not just hard. It's like life is hard.
Life is pain. Get used to it.
But Royal, I know you've put a bunch of time into this game so far. What are your thoughts on it? What kind of questions do you have about this?
Well, I mean, I'll do a little bit of sort of recap as well from what I've played and some questions that are exploratory. You mentioned it's a period piece, so when I started off, it put me right after the Civil War. So when you say about 100-year span, how far back, how far forward are we talking?
You'll start on 1830s, and you'll move from there. So you're moving to a new century.
Gotcha. So we start talking about like transcontinental railroad expansion, going out west, and that first level reflects that. You're working right in the Midwest and mostly in plains areas, and then terrain starts to become a factor. And how can you build directly, but also how can you save some money because you're doing some resource management on that piece. But it gets kind of granular. You're able to actually focus specifically on how you're managing your traffic and having your signals and your interruptions there on the track, so you can keep things flowing. So you're able to drill down pretty close. And as you zoom in on the game, you mentioned excellent graphics. I have to agree with you. It's very crisp, really solid. So you zoom in, you can actually see like birds in the sky, trees, all that business. You zoom out, and you can get a really good panoramic view of the Midwest. It's a very pretty game.
Yes, and I know this is something that, Joe, that you've actually addressed in previous games that we've had. There is high-resolution assets, and they will allow native 4K rendering at this point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know that was something that you asked about a couple of our previous titles. So if you're on PC, PS4, Xbox One X, you will have the ability for native 4K rendering.
So are you saying that these titles or Railway Empire is Xbox One X enhanced? Is that the official term for it?
High resolution is what we're saying. It will allow negative 4K rendering. That's exactly what I could tell you.
Nice. Yeah, it looks really, really nice. I've been checking out screenshots for it. I feel bad I haven't had any time with the game myself yet because my computer is awful. But I've been having fun watching other people streaming it and doing preview videos and checking out screenshots and clips of it. And this is a gorgeous looking game. I like the fact you could zoom in all the way to see rust patterns on the locomotive.
Yeah, I mean, the locomotives are high detail. We have terrain, mountains, canyons, zooming in, first person, third person perspectives. And of course, what everyone asks about, we do have the ride along feature.
Yay!
so you can feel that you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. You can hop on your own train and get a perspective of what it looks like while it's riding on the track.
That's probably what I'm going to do the entire time is just ride the train.
You're just gonna make one locomotive and ride it the entire duration of the game.
Am I able to ride other people's creations in the game?
I mean, it's mainly right now. We're not really sticking to that multiplayer type direction. We're mainly sticking towards where you're playing, AI, where you're playing against AI, things of that nature. So you're mainly going to be focusing on riding your own train.
Are there pre-made scenarios that you could jump into that you have to take care of?
I mean, you do have challenges in scenarios. I think the big part is starting off your own railway. So there are ways that you can kind of make it your own, but you're going to want to take on the challenges as well. You're going to want to make money. So like I said, there are also different modes that you can do, but it really is a piece-by-piece process. I mean, even as far as the different parts of North America and the U.S. go, you can't just jump in, start anywhere in the U.S. and go across the entire continent. You're really going to have to start realistically and break everything into sections of different countries. So I'd say just jumping in. Yeah, there's a certain ease to the game that I think people don't expect, but yeah, there's a method to the madness that you're going to want to go in.
So there's actual structure and format to it.
There's structure, there's format. I mean, you have research trees in the game for both the locomotive end and the business end. The game is economic as well, too. So it's not just plopping down railroads. You're going to go to different areas that will affect your railroads in different ways and vice versa. So when you start building, you'll start noticing that towns are developing. There'll be certain towns where you can even make businesses that will go through as well. You even have like the realism of if you bring a service or some sort of supply to an area, the demand for that supply goes down.
That's really cool. So this isn't just, Sim Train. This is Sim Train plus Sim City all rolled into just one gigantic empire of a game.
Yeah, I mean, it's called Railway Empire for a reason. Like I said, you are becoming this ultimate rail tycoon. And of course, we have to throw some Kalypso spin in there. So in addition to just technology, in addition to just business, you can sabotage with some espionage, some raids by bandits. So we do throw a little bit of flair in there too.
Oh, there we go. That's the stuff I want to hear about.
Yeah, that I haven't gotten to yet. I haven't seen that part. That's exciting.
You got to keep playing. You'll get in there. So and it's a pretty advanced AI too, so it'll make it fun. I mean, you could have 3 different forms of AI in one game, basically, while you're playing against them. So you actually do have to keep on your toes.
Huh. How creative. I apologize because I dropped out for a moment there. I wanted to rewind just a little bit. I'm very sorry, but when you start talking about 4K
I don't
rendering,
accept your apology.
Oh, Joe. Breaking corazón.
Sorry.
So at the 4K rendering piece in the Xbox, I did have a question, but I had another call that took over and kicked me out of Skype for a moment there.
Sure.
Well, welcome back, Royal. How are you doing?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for coming back.
I've been following for a while. I just missed a little bit. In regards to when you start talking about 4K rendering, you start talking about Xbox. So there is a console release planned. I don't know if you cover the different platforms. I noticed that I had Windows and potentially Linux available. What are all the ports that are going to be available?
Okay, so Railway Empire will be multi-platform. Right now, what we have expect to be released is PC, Linux, Xbox, and PlayStation. So those are going to be what we're releasing it on.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wasn't even aware.
The usual suspects. The usual suspects.
Exactly. Yeah. For reference, I mean, I've been playing the PC version, so I wasn't even aware there was going to be a console release at first. So that's great. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's going to be a console version of it. I'm happy I'll get a shot with it. Yeah,
absolutely.
We're excited to kind of have this genre being launched on a console as well.
Yeah,
right now it's really the only railroad sim or tycoon sim of its kind going on current consoles right now.
Yeah. I wanted to mention that. I think part of the reason I didn't expect to see or didn't think there would be an Xbox version is because it's such a PC-centric genre. And making it controller-friendly, making it accessible to this whole other group of players, I think that's a brilliant idea. So it's fairly intuitive to play. It's a good amount of point and click, of course, but you can adapt all that stuff just like with Dungeons 3, how it also is a controller-friendly game on a genre that I'd otherwise expect to see very much on the PC.
And that's been something that we've been really excited to introduce, just even anything connected to Kalypso Media. These games that you might think that would only be on a PC or typically play on a PC, having these genres being released on consoles, I personally think it's really exciting.
Yeah, that's a step in the right direction. I wanted to ask you a bit about the graphics and the art style. I mean, we touched on how you can get a good amount of visual realism. It's very sharp, but there's also a sort of whimsical aspect to the game, isn't there, as far as the visuals go?
It's definitely has its own style. I think it stands out. So it's not just a pretty game. I mean, it's a game where it has its own style, and it's also got some detail to it, too. I mean, you have 40 detailed locomotives and 30 different wagon types with this. So it's not just generic trains. When you're looking at it, that there is detail that's put into it. There are 300 different technologies that you could put into the locomotives and the innovations with it. So when it comes to the graphics, it's not just making the grass look nice or the mountains look nice. There's detail into the machinery as well.
What are some of the technologies that you're talking about with 300 different ones for the locomotive? Like, what kind of features are there with that?
Have you unlocked anything yet, Royal? Have you been doing any research or doing any
No, I haven't yet gotten that far, actually.
So there are a few different things that you can do. I mean, for one, the biggest part of the realism with those technologies is that they try to make it where the train that you're getting the technology with matches the time era that you're in. So you can't make your train fly or float into space. You can't get a train that came out 100 years after that it was made. There's no cheating. So you can't get a locomotive that comes out 50 years after. So it's mainly just realistic technologies that are existing for each particular
Why can't
type
I have a bullet train in the 1840s?
I know.
Yeah. You can't have a monorail or anything in the 1830s. Nothing of that nature. So that's where the realism does come into. So the realism isn't just in the graphics and things of that nature. The technologies that you'll get, it's going to be those technologies of the eras that you're in.
Solid. One of the things I thought was kind of interesting was their characters in the game. Like you can play as different characters. Is that right?
Yeah. So I mean, and I think once you see these characters, you'll get kind of a familiar feel. Different characters will pop up. You could even choose who leads. When you first start, you're making your own. You're making your own railroad service. You're becoming a tycoon. This is the one part where it does get a little fictional because obviously these time eras, these different technologies, the locomotives themselves, they're realistic, but you are coming up with your own fictional business. So these characters are all going to have strengths and weaknesses. Some might be more focused on money, some might be focused on more technology. So they're all going to have different types of personalities. They're all going to have different types of skills or things that they're going to bring to the table, and you get to choose. And and of course, when you're doing this, you can choose the name of your railroad too. I know that's one of probably the least exciting parts, but you pick your different characters, you pick your railroads. You could have up to 17 different staff members on your trains as well. The only customization with that is it is preset. You're not going to design your own characters. You're not going to be doing presets and modding yourself. Those different characters will be introduced, and they can interact with each other. Their interactions with each other also will have an effect on the success of the train, just like any other workforce.
I was going to say, one of the videos I watched showed a relationship gauge between train passengers. What do passenger relationships have to do with the game, and how do they affect how you play?
With any relations with the characters on the game, just think of what would affect any business. So whether it's the characters on the train or the people working on it, just positive and negative experiences, the success of the train, how well the train works, that's all what's going to come together. Just think if you were using any service or any business, that's how it would kind of connect.
So if Janice in accounting is being a total B to everyone else,
Janice,
because Janice, she just don't give a fuck. She's gonna do what she wants.
right.
Janice, she drinks on the weekends. She has her problems, and she brings them into work, and it affects everybody at work negatively.
Just to confirm, there's no open world feature where you can do those things that you just listed, and that's not a thing. Okay, it's strategy. It is a strategy game. So just for anybody listening, no, you can't just set your character and do some open world.
That's my own personal imaginary backstory for all of the characters in the game.
So that's Joe's future railroad tycoon, I guess.
Yup.
If you get to make your own railroad game, you're going to be able to go in and terrorize customers and fellow employees.
My game would be awful.
Yeah, in your game. Just to confirm, that's not a feature of Railway Empire.
It is a very smart move that your game does not include my features.
Yeah, there's some fun elements to the game, but they try to make it a realistic tycoon game as well.
That is really cool, though, that your passengers and your employees, their relationships with each other can affect the performance of the railway. That's really neat.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that was my question. I'll let you go, Royal.
It's excellent to build on because, as you're connecting towns, it's my observation that you get to make a lot of decisions, not only in what's the best route, but what can you pick up on the way too, because there are a lot of different considerations for supply chain stuff. When you have, an interesting mix of passengers, does that, impact the strategy as far as just even how or where you lay your tracks? Does one kind of influence the other?
Your decisions, the train does affect the town and vice versa. Even little things like if you open a train and you're like, I want it to have this service to bring to this town because maybe there's a farm there. You want to bring meat. At one point, they'll say, hey, you have too many supplies for a train like this. It's slowing down. It might break. So all of these little decisions will definitely have an effect on the performance of the trains, on the performance of the town, and on the performance of your business. So you'll even see trains could even require maintenance. So if you, like I said, if you're not really setting them up right, you could see some negative features like that.
There you go, Royal.
Yep. Make sure Janice in accounting isn't on board.
Listen, Janice, she has her issues. You have to be supportive of Janice.
Right. So from the period piece angle, one of the things I was kind of curious about that is I know that there's obviously a huge angle on the Transcontinental Railroad and creating your own empire, but it intersects with the Civil War. I understood there might be part of the campaign that actually goes down to the south as like a reconstruction or something. That sound right?
Yeah, you'll be going all over. You'll be going all over. You have 5 different eras spanning through 20 years. You have 100 cities that you can play through, and it goes through a 100-year span. So you're going to be going all over the place.
Wow.
Even when you have that first opening, when you go in, you're going to see it. It's like I said before. You don't just start off. You set a train station in America and you plow right through. It's planned pretty strategically. If you're, so it's not like, I want to make a railroad station in New York and just make it and just take over the entire country. There is a little bit more of a method than that.
Right.
But yeah, you'll be getting different demographics still.
Yeah.
So it's more level and stage based than open world based.
Yes, and like I said, it also really depends on what mode you're playing into. I'm going to keep going back to that. Everyone's got a different preference, so you will have different modes that you'll be able to play in. So in campaign mode, you have 5 different chapters. You have 10 challenges per chapter. You have 11 different scenarios. 10 different challenges for that. Free mode is just you have 3 customizable starting conditions, and it's exactly what it sounds like. And sandbox mode, same thing. If you're a sandbox type player, you want to have games for fun, but maybe the challenge of finances, time constraints, things like that. Because with this game, it's not just, like I said, plopping down a railroad track, plopping down a train, plopping down a station. Your finances really do have an influence on it. So if you just want to have some fun and build some things, there's a sandbox mode where you won't have to deal with that.
Nice.
Excellent. So just for the campaign mode, I mean, I'm not very experienced in simulators like this or the manager tycoon type games. How many hours do you figure of campaign time is there in this game for somebody who has a bit to learn? How
many hours? Let me see. Like I said, I know specifically the amount of challenges and the amount of chapters. I guess the hour. Yeah, I don't think we actually have a specific hour set for the gameplay.
Yeah, that's pretty hard to answer, I suppose.
Anywhere between 10 and 4,000.
Between 10 and 4,000, yes.
Closer to 4,000.
Are you an easy player or a realistic player?
Yeah.
What is the difference between easy and realistic?
Yeah, what does that do?
It's the challenge. It's the challenge of the game. So trains can travel, through one another, where realistic players, you really have to take care of signals, switches, things like that you would have to realistically do. So realistic mode, you have realistic obstacles and challenges and gameplay, where, easy, it's like I said, trains can travel, like passing through one another without those little details that you have to set.
So it basically automates a bunch of the minor things in the game.
Yeah, you could say that. So, and like I said, realistic, there's realistic things they have to do. Obviously, in the real world, you have to have signals, you have to have switches, or we would just have constant train wrecks every day.
Right.
In realistic mode, are there fully animated and full physics with train wrecks? Because I'm sadistic and I have to ask this.
Just to be clear, this game is rated E for everyone. So if you're looking for something gruesome and horrific to see, it's going to be a little bit more innocent than things that you might have seen in the past being released. So this is, So you're not going to see any horror scenes of any graphic
I'm not
violence,
expecting any kind of gore like body parts flying. I'm just wondering if we're going to see trains crash into each other and like see maybe an explosion or trains go flying off the tracks.
It'll prompt you saying that this isn't working, this train's not working. So I haven't seen any explosions yet, literal and figurative.
Yeah, I've seen smoky breakdowns. I've seen breakdowns, big puffs of smoke and stuff. I haven't actually seen a collision yet.
Yeah, I haven't really come across any Michael Bay moments so far. So
I'm gonna be that dick that tries to make it happen.
Michael Bay.
You're just gonna be that. Yeah, like you're gonna intentionally plant 2 trains against each other on conflicting routes just to see how far it can go.
Just get 4 of them going all head on to the same intersection, all at the same time. See what happens.
Well, most people are trying to do that. They're trying to see how well the trains can succeed. So you're going to be going in that opposite mode, I guess.
The game just like boots back to the main menu. It's like, no, stop it.
No, stop. This is a family game. What are you trying to pull here?
It's an E-rated game, please. Save your immaturity for your own game with Janice and account.
Yeah. Go back to Dungeons 3 for that instant gratification.
Oh yeah. Oh.
Go back to slapping around snow.
So you mentioned Dungeons. That was a very humorous game. Is that same goofy trademark humor in Railway Empire as well?
Not quite to that level. You'll see that it's lighthearted, it's whimsical, but it's not quite as slapstick or as Dungeons is. But you could tell that that it kind of came connected to the Kalypso brand. You will see styles from the characters, even when the characters come and prompt you, just how they have the voiceovers, things like that. There is fun to the game, but it's not like a total all-out comedy. It's not like constant goofing or anything like that. You'll see that there's a lot of times where you are just really designing your empire. So is it 100% dark? Absolutely not. Is it just serious and dramatic the whole time? Absolutely not. But it's not quite a slapstick comedy through the entire game either.
So it knows how to moderate things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Even keel, but your industrialist character looks a lot like Snidely Whiplash. He's very cartoony looking, so that's sort
the
of
drawings are the character illustrations are really cool. I think they have some great style.
Yeah.
So they are distinct.
Like I said, when you go to zoom in, near the mountain ranges, where you gotta be real careful where you put your railways. Sometimes can save you a lot of money if you avoid rough terrain. But as you start to zoom in and stuff, it's close to photorealistic. I mean, it's an interesting balance between the two. So when I mentioned that whimsical art style, it's congruent with what's otherwise, I think, a really crisp, really sharp look, really realistic.
Yeah. So the realism, the detail are there. Like I said, the realism, the locomotives are there. But it's not like this photorealistic, CGI fest. The game does have style to it.
Yes, definitely.
Which is important.
And I got to commend. I mean, my system isn't really high end, and I was very pleased with how responsive it was too. So I think good graphics that also meets good performance. I have to really commend the developers on that piece.
Excellent. We appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Royal, I have a question for you. You mentioned terrain having an effect on building things. How did it affect the tracks you were creating and the layouts that you were making?
Well, so I mean, you might be able to get a shorter path between 2 points if you're willing to cut through some mountains, but being able to actually cut through some mountains, that's a lot more costly. So, you have those considerations. Is it going to be cheaper for multiple round trips for me to go around this mountain range or through it? I think that's an important part to the game's strategy, that you can zoom in and you can be real cautious about getting as close as possible. That sort of opportunity for optimization is one of those areas where you could make gains.
Gotcha. So a lot of strategery in this game.
Yes, and I would assume as you kind of inch closer to the realistic mode, that's where it's really going to start to matter, right?
I'm quite a bit of an easy guy myself.
Yeah. Same here.
That's what I did.
Same here. I'm too old for this difficult bullshit. I'm just like, I need hold my hand as long as possible. I'll get lost. I'm scared on my own. Yeah. Once you stop holding my hand, I'm going to blow shit up. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
Don't leave me to my own devices. It is bad.
But like I said, we do at least give a couple of different options, whether you're a sandbox type, a campaign type, free type, you want things to be realistic, you want things to be easy. From what I can see, the game is not impossible to jump into. If you want to have some fun with a rail sim or strategy game, you're going to be able to go into this, especially if you're on the tutorial. But if you're that type that just loves detail, loves a challenge, really likes something intricate, it's going to have a nice quality for you as well.
Now, for newcomers to this genre, because as you mentioned, we've never really seen a game like this on consoles. So presumably a lot of console gamers are going to be newcomers to this genre completely. Is there a decent amount of tutorials in there and enough guidance to get newbies on par with what's going on in the game?
Yeah, so even when I was talking about before how there's 5 different chapters, there is a tutorial as well. And the tutorial I find to be very intuitive. So, I mean, as far as that goes, if you're the type that really does want to break down when you're going into a game, there's an intuitive tutorial that goes with it. So it's not all that much of a challenge to learn. But like I said, if you want to take that next step and really get into detail and really make it a challenge, you can go in that direction too. But I would say that if it's something that you really just want to learn at first, it's not going to be too much of a challenge for you.
So one of those easy to learn, difficult to master kind of situations?
Yeah, I would say that. I would definitely say that.
Nice. Yeah, I know looking at screenshots, some of these could be a little bit intimidating to someone who's never played a game like this before. So I'm happy to hear that there's plenty of tutorials in there to ease you in and that it's fairly easy to pick up.
Mm-hmm. You could even pause the game in certain modes and actually, let's just say you're playing against AI, you want to take a stop and think about what you want to do. You could actually pause the game and scan around just to get an advantage. So there are ways that we don't make the game totally impossible for you to beat. They give players some advantages if they want them.
Gotcha. You mentioned playing against the AI. In what way are you playing against the computer?
I mean, you are playing against an AI that's going to be a separate tycoon in a separate business that's trying to basically do what you're doing. They're trying to become the ultimate rail tycoon, and they're trying to put you out of business.
Gotcha.
So just like another game, like if you're playing a racing game, there's an AI car, that car is trying to race and beat you. That's what's going to be going on with the AI inside the game as well. You're going to have competitive tycoon, competitive, people working on railways that are going to be going against you.
And you mentioned like bandit attacks and other traps earlier. Is the opponent AI the one sending those after you, or are those just random events that happen?
Well, you could send them against them if you wanted to. That's the whole point too. So I mean, you get to choose the type of tycoon that you are. So if you're that type that wants to do some espionage, that wants to send a bandit, it's not just you being victimized too. I mean, you're here to take over as well. So it's not just necessarily like, AI is the bad guy and you're the good guy. You're just competitors. So if that's the route that you want to take, that's the route that you can take.
So you can be a more ruthless tycoon if you wanted to be.
Yes. Yeah. So if that's what you want, and sometimes you almost have to. Sometimes you almost have to get a little cutthroat.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Play to
win. So for those of you who like to play dirty, we have an option for you.
Sweet. I'm going to be such a dick in this game.
Nice.
I guess it's good there is no multiplayer aspect to it, because I would piss so many people off.
Just going online and getting other people who just want to set up some trains and just making their lives miserable.
Oh man, I would get banned so quickly from the game just for griefing. Like I'm not even like that in most games, but just the possibility of being able to sabotage someone else's railway. I don't know if I could turn that down.
And just ruin their day.
Yeah. I'm terrible.
Yeah, so.
What is wrong with me?
Luckily, Joe's going to have to go against AI.
You're welcome. What other ways can you sabotage your opponent in the game?
Those are the main ones that we're really pushing. It is going to be espionage and raids and bandits. Which is that not enough for you?
I didn't know how detailed and in-depth they got. Like if you're planning out heists and everything else.
Yeah. Like I said, there's nothing like, you can't just go into like their train station and like beat them up with baseball bats or anything like that.
That's the sequel.
So we try to. Yeah, no. We can't be going the Joe. You can't just go and set fire to someone's train while there's a bunch of passengers in it and give them bad publicity or anything like
Railway
that.
Empire 2 rated M.
Yeah, rated M.
What was your experience with that, Royal? So that I stopped talking about horrible things.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't gotten to a point where I had to play dirty. I was pretty well bankrolled, and I was shown how to learn the ropes, the tutorial. So it was fairly handholdy. But once I had to start branching out and going further west, then it was a little more on my own, and I had to make some decisions as to what's the best way to get there, what kind of stops should I plan to make on the way to improve my supply chain to meet demand. So I was still going through those first steps in the preview. I'm looking forward to the point where I can, start playing dirty against the AI, but I was pretty much just playing against myself because it's my first train game, I have to come in the learning curve on that because that's going to help to really bring people into this game who aren't familiar with others in the genre.
It's good to hear that it's approachable.
In my experience so far. Yeah, that's been my experience so far, and to that end, it's been very welcoming. So yeah, I'm enjoying that part of it especially.
Nice. So, Christopher, I know a bunch of people have had access with a preview build of the game. What has the response been so far? What kind of feedback have you guys been getting?
People seem to be adjusting into learning it. I can give you that much. That's what I've seen. It seems like people who are popping on the game for the first time, it seems like they're going into tutorial mode and they're learning the game while they're doing that. So even if you want to check out some streams online, this game has been streamed all over YouTube. So I'm seeing a lot of people having a pretty enjoyable experience.
Gotcha. What kind of fun stuff have you seen people doing in the game?
Honestly, just putting hours of gameplay. And some of the hours that I've seen, and like all the streams that I've seen, whether it's North American, South American, or even in our European countries, I'm just seeing a lot of hours invested in it. So it seems like something that you could really hop on and get your hands dirty with and have some fun, kill some time.
Any
that's been one
absurd
feature.
hour counts that you've seen so far?
I don't nothing like 30 hours straight or anything like that, but no, I'm seeing people, I guess maybe because the genre of the game and how detailed it is, it's not just a button masher. It is something you have to be mentally invested in. So I'm seeing that there's just a lot of streams, a lot of hours of streaming too. So you're not really seeing people picking it up for a couple of minutes, just showing something and hanging it up. A lot of streams I've seen are like an hour or more, depending.
One of those games where you start playing thinking you're going to show it off for like 10, 15 minutes and then 2 hours pass and you're like, shit, what happened to the day?
What happened with my life? Yeah.
That's yeah. I can certainly see that immersion happening, very absorbing type of game. And yeah, well, conquered the mountain ranges. Time for bed.
Oh, wait, it's 6 a.m.
Yep.
Time for work.
Back up. That's not going down. Yeah. So no, it's. I think it's going to win some fans as far as the resource management aspect of it, tycoon aspect of it. I can see it. Definitely hitting a lot of the right notes.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that make it stand out too. I mean, tracks being placed with pixel perfect precision in the game world. This really being, like I said, the only of its kind on console right now, specifically of this quality and of this style. So there are a lot of things that will make this stand out.
Yeah. When do we expect that to hit console?
So console will be on January 30th.
Oh, coming right up. Sweet.
It will be Railway Empire will be released on the 26th. And that will be for PC and Linux, so that'll be a Steam release. And then a few days later, on the 30th, that will have the box retail version of PC. It'll have Xbox One and PlayStation 4, so it'll have that multi-platform release a few days later.
Nice. So Friday, by the time this releases, it'll be this Friday on PC, and then next Tuesday on console and physical.
Yeah, it'll be on Friday, the 26th, January 26th, 2018 will be the Steam launch, the digital Steam and PC Linux launch, and then the 30th, the following Tuesday, that will be the console launch and the box retail version of PC as well.
Nice, because obviously the episode released today on the 23rd, so we're recording this on the 23rd, obviously.
Yes.
That is how this show works.
Yes.
We do everything live as it's supposed to happen.
Live. What a beautiful January 23rd it is today.
I am not looking at a calendar trying to figure out what day this is releasing and what days we're talking about. This is obviously just happening right now.
A part of me wanted to glimpse at my calendar and be like, wait a minute, it's the 23rd?
My show's a train wreck, yay.
No pun intended.
Maybe there was a pun intended. Maybe. So have you guys taken this game and showed it off at like PAX and E3, stuff like that?
We've been at E3 and GDC. We've showed the game off. It's been a trade show so far.
Have there been any fun experiences of people trying to play the game and just not knowing what they're doing and ruining everything?
No, not so much. No, not that I've seen. I haven't seen any. But usually when it comes to anything of that nature, E3 and GDC, we were very press related, so we didn't really have any journalists walking up saying, "How do I play this game?" Generally, it's a traditional experience when we demo our games. So
I don't know. We've all seen that Cuphead tutorial video, haven't we?
No, I actually haven't.
Really? Of a journalist playing the tutorial of Cuphead and failing miserably?
Ooh.
It's failing miserably.
I might have to get that video for you guys.
I'd like to think that our trade shows and expos are pretty structured. So.
I love hearing about disastrous events when people are playing a game and just don't know what they're doing, and they like try to fake that they know what they're doing, but when you're watching them and seeing them just crash and burn, you know that they had no clue.
Oh, well, you know, our game wasn't released yet. Obviously, so you know we have team members there to make sure that the demo experience is a good one, and it seemed to get a good response.
Nice. So just a few days away from release, how does it feel? Are you guys excited?
I think there's a lot of excitement in the air, and it seems like a lot of people playing at home, they're excited too because they've been waiting years to have a mainstream train game like this coming about. So I do feel like there's some excitement in the air and there's some buzz going through.
Nice. I know I'm excited about it. It's been way too long since I've been able to play a game like this, and I'm happy to see it come to console.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting that we're going to have that diversity with it. So it'll have console releases, a PC release. You'll have that 4K native rendering available. So if you do have a PlayStation 4 Pro, an Xbox One X, or you just have a nasty PC, you know, you'll have that as well. So I think it's a nice diverse game.
Nasty
PC.
My PC is nasty PC. In the like wrong direction.
Yeah,
mine's the wrong kind of nasty. Are there any future plans for the game with expansions or DLC, or is that just still, you know, focus on the release first and then worry about that?
I think we're focusing on the release first. I mean, and like I said, you have a lot. So for right now, I mean, like I said, you have 300 technologies, 40 locomotives, 30 different wagons. You have, you know, 4 playable modes. So there's a lot of content there.
How many cities did you say there were?
There are 100.
100 cities. Damn.
Yeah. So play with what you got right now. So yeah, of course, you know, like I said, I would never say, hey, there's no DLC ever coming up. But right now, the current focus is that we have Railway Empire coming out for console and for PC.
Which is refreshing because so many games are like, yeah, the game's releasing on the 26th, and then the first DLC pack will be available on the 25th. So buy stuff before you could buy stuff. So it's
buy stuff. I'm wondering if that's a slogan for some companies. Buy stuff before you go buy stuff.
EA Sports, buy stuff before you buy stuff. Because microtransactions, it's in the game. I'm an idiot. Oh god. But yeah, it's just good to hear a company that's like, yeah, just get the game, worry about future content later because we're not focused on it yet. It's very refreshing to hear.
And DLC, I mean, it's great. It's great when you get a game and the game acts as a service, so you get more after you purchase it right now. But I think DLC for the right reasons is important. You know, you give the DLC because people want more and people want more options with the game that they have.
Definitely. But definitely agree.
You'll have a lot to play with. You got a lot to play with right now.
So 100 cities across the entire country, based on the varying landscape of our country and different terrains and different areas, are there any parts of the country that are easier to play than others?
I wouldn't know about easier. I mean, obviously, if you go to a part, you know, where there's more civilization, where there's more people, you'll have different options for your city. But to my knowledge, I don't think there's anything that's completely easier just because of the demographic that it's in.
I didn't know if like the Midwest with all the plains and flat areas would be easier to play than mountainous regions on the East or not.
Yeah, honestly, not to my knowledge that I've seen playing it. I mean, like I said, terrain itself, like, yeah, the actual area in that way, yeah, it could make things more difficult. Obviously, if you have, you know, nastier terrain or if you have mountains, it's going to be different than just if you have like a flat piece of land with cities around it. But in general, I don't think they specifically made like California easier or harder than another state that's around it. Gotcha.
That's good. Well, Royal, do you have any other questions? Because I think I'm about tapped out on my end.
Yep. No, I think it's a crisp, really solid game, and gonna keep playing it.
Christopher, is there anything?
Did you want to know about the music?
I was going to say, is there anything about the game we didn't ask about?
I didn't even mention the music. Yeah, it's got kind of a thumping country frontier soundtrack. At least the bit I heard.
So the way that I think of it, like when I hear the music in Railway Empire, if you were in that time era and for some reason you did have earbuds or something like that to put in, like the way that people listen to a certain type of music, like when they exercise, I feel like that's the music that you'd be listening to if you pop some earbuds in that time era and you're building your own railway, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, that does, and I think that's a fairly appropriate reaction. I mean, it's from my point of view, it was well produced and very, very fitting. So, solid choice there. Well done.
Yeah, no beat down hardcore or metal or anything like that in Railway Empire. It's pretty authentic music.
So no railway dubstep.
No, not yet. No, I haven't heard any plans for that.
Not yet, exactly.
Not yet.
Is the band Train in the game?
Why did I have a feeling that is it the fact that it's 100-year span? Is that why you're playing off that?
That's one of those questions that I expect to ask, and then just the person answering is like, you know what, fuck you, and hang up.
No, actually, for some reason I was expecting some sort of Train reference.
I just didn't know if like Drops of Jupiter was the title theme in the game or anything.
No.
Oh my god, why do I think of this stuff?
No. I can confirm that Drops of Jupiter will not be in the opening sequence when you're starting the tutorial. So.
Gotcha. So we are getting breaking news on this show. Drops of Jupiter is not the title screen theme.
Yeah, not the release date, not the gameplay or anything like that, but specifically who's not in the soundtrack.
That's the kind of information I go for on this show.
All the meat and potatoes right here on SML Podcast.
That's right.
Yeah.
Only the dumbest for my show.
Enough about if the game's coming out on both Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. Let's get to the real stuff. Let's talk about who's not going to be in the soundtrack.
Oh my god. I'm sorry. I'm like especially goofy today, and I don't know why. You bring the best out of me, Christopher.
I love it. Good.
So was there anything else?
Bring some fun to the show.
Was there anything else you wanted to mention about the game, like the soundtrack? Anything else that we didn't bring up that you feel we should know, our listeners should know, the general public should know? What are we forgetting to ask you about?
What are you forgetting to ask me about? I think we kind of covered just about anything that I could think of. No, I think we got everything covered. There will be the modding available too. Actually, that's something that we can definitely bring up. You will be able to mod, change some scenarios. So that is a feature that we could have. So just to give you a couple of points to reiterate, 300 technologies over 2 tech trees, 40 historically correct locomotives. You could build and manage your own railway company, hire your own personnel, sabotage your rivals, 100 cities, and obviously through a century span. 20 years for 5 different eras too. So that's pretty cool that you can throw that in there. So you have 5 different eras with 20 years each and modding support. So there are a lot, and like I said, first to market on current gen consoles. So there's a lot of different features that we have that we think this game is special for.
I'm looking forward to it. It seems like this is a game that's going to scratch an itch that console gamers haven't been able to scratch for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even just across all platforms, just having a game like this, I think people have been waiting for a nice rail sim to come out.
Nice. Well, I am excited to check it out when it releases. You said 26th on Steam, the 30th on console and physical version for PC. Christopher, it's been fantastic having you back on the show. It's always a pleasure getting you on.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Royal, you were pretty okay too, I guess.
When I was here, I was pretty good, I guess. Yeah.
Royal Sefton, you were okay.
By the way, because you did ask earlier the pitch, I do actually have like an official pitch. If you want to put that over me as being quite, I know I kind of gave you the Chris version. So if you want something a little more official to put on that section, I have that for you.
Well, why don't you end the show with the official pitch for the game? The final words for the episode. Let's hear the pitch.
Railway Empire is a new era tycoon simulation game spanning 100 years of American industrialization, where you will be tasked with building, managing, and expanding your company, utilizing all the innovations of the steam engine revolution on PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One.
I like that. That was professional.
Thank you.
Too professional for my show.
Yeah, it's not going to wind up on it, is it?